Hello and welcome to Not Checkpoints. We've actually done a little bit of a rebrand since I don't even remember the last time that we did one of these episodes. We are now called Quicksave Radio. Me and Owen had a bit of a discussion and realised that if you do a search for Checkpoint Podcast on Google, you will find about 72 different amateur, gaming-related podcasts. So we've done a bit of a rebrand and we've changed it to Quicksave Radio. We're not deleting any of the old episodes. We're still going on with this is episode 6. We feel like we're early enough that we can just sort of quietly rebrand a little bit and everything will be fine. So welcome to the podcast. My name is Josh Boyles. I am a broadcast journalism student at the University of Salford. I'm also doing freelance journalism stuff, and I'm joined, as always, by my good friend Owen Connolly. How are you, my dude?
I'm great. Hey, my name's Owen Connolly. I am now not a digital art student. I'm officially a university animation student from the northeast of England, from Newcastle.
That's quite an upgrade in title. It's been so long since we last recorded. I mean, most of that's just down to us being ridiculously busy because we've had I've had uni assignments and news days and all sorts of stuff coming up, and you've still got your final project to submit like this weekend or something.
Yeah, I mean it's essentially done, but I've still got to submit it, and I've still got to be like, if you've worked in any sort of graphic design or IT course before, you'll know that half the battle is doing it, and then half of it is saying, all right, this is how I did this. This is how I did that.
You got to fill in an Excel spreadsheet and do a Gantt chart and everything.
Oh, I love a bit of Gantt.
I love a Gantt chart. So yeah, it's been a while, and for that reason, I've redrafted the doc for this checkpoint for this podcast about.
That's the first one.
That's the first one. I'm gonna have to overdub it with Quicksave. I think that'd be quite funny. It depends on how much I fuck up, right? I'll overdub it, but if it's too much, I'm not doing all that work.
We're gonna have a checkpoint counter with a ding.
Oh yeah, we'll do that. Yeah. Oh, I'm so tired. E3 is this weekend. I've just been saying to Owen, E3's not even started, and I'm already run off my feet. I've just chugged a coffee and then immediately shit it out because I've not eaten enough today. So I'm just a wreck of a human at the minute. So if I sound tired and just like a husk, I apologize. I'll do my best.
We all know though, as soon as E3 starts, that's not going to matter.
Yeah, it's like you don't even need E3 has this like sort of weird magic that it just you don't you don't feel tired while you're watching the conferences, and then they end and you're like, fuck, I need to go to bed. Well, mind you, I remember last year after the Bethesda conference, I went and worked a 9-hour shift straight after. I think the Bethesda conference finished at like 4 a.m. and then I started work at 7. It was ridiculous. So yeah, we've kept the news to this sort of the last sort of week and a half. We did have a lot of stuff in about the PlayStation 5 technical specs and all that sort of stuff, but we've decided to cut that because we've sort of decided to name this week running up to E3 as Leak Week, because the amount of like if we're getting this amount of news before E3 even starts, God knows how busy E3 is going to be, because I think we've got about 8 different individual news stories on here. It's quite mad.
Well, it's essentially impossible to process. We know that from last year.
Yeah, exactly.
Specifically the Microsoft conference last year. You watched that, and I finished it, and I thought, I know that was good, but I don't remember a single thing they showed. And then I looked at the list,
so much shit goes on.
Yeah, I looked at the list, and I was like, oh, they showed like 20 things I'm interested in.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's why I think I'm gonna. Usually what I do is I keep a document open on my second screen and just sort of type quick notes. But what I think I might do is I might try and do like a proper Twitter thread that's not just me going, oh, look at this, me just getting incredibly excited and shit posting on everyone's feed. I feel like that might be a good idea of doing it. But anyway, right, let's get into the news, because this is our PrE-3 episode where we do our predictions for what we think is going to happen. So I want to try and keep the news and the games section not ridiculously short, but keep it brisk. So right, let's start up with the Death Stranding gameplay and release date trailer. So there was a trailer released for Death Stranding about a week ago now. It was about 8 minutes long, I think.
It was very long, strangely long.
Well, that's kind of typical of Kojima, I think, because I distinctly remember there being about 5-6 minute trailers for Metal Gear Solid 5 when that was coming out as well.
Which was just like a lot of walking.
Yeah.
And the guy being in a car for 2 minutes.
Yeah. Oh,
There's a lot of that.
Christ, I remember that. So yeah, there's more sort of cryptic visuals. If you watch the trailer by itself, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. It's still sort of very Kojima. Nothing really makes sense. If you actually go on at least we've actually got gameplay now. It shows some sort of stealth gameplays. We've got some hand-to-hand combat. We've also got like third-person shooting combat in there. And if you actually go on the website, you can find out a little bit more about the story and the gameplay. So I've quoted these off the website. In the near future, mysterious explosions have rocked the globe, setting off a series of supernatural events known as the Death Stranding, with otherworldly creatures plaguing the landscape and mass extinction imminent. It's up to Sam Porter Bridges to travel across the ravaged wasteland and save humanity from impending annihilation. So yeah, there's some stealth, melee combat, and survival-based gameplay as well. It seems a lot of the gameplay seems to be revolving around you sort of traversing across America. You can see him like sort of craft a ladder to like get up to certain places, and I think they made a big thing of like, there's always been that thing in video games is like you see that mountain in the distance, you can fuck it. Very much like, I think because there's two shots in the gameplay trailer where they look at like a mountain, and then the next shot is he's up that mountain. So it's very much like if you can see a part in this game, you can probably go there. So arm yourself and take aim at a variety of objectives in your mission to reunite a broken nation while balancing under the weight of your cargo as you travel. Protect your supplies from wild bandits and stay safe from the terrifying bleached things, or face failing those who depend on you. The Decima engine renders a hyper-realistic landscape utterly transformed by the Death Stranding. Unpassable obstacles block your path and force you to find different routes, while supernatural elements alter the physical state of your surroundings. So the Decima engine is what Kojima has borrowed from Guerrilla Games. This is actually the Decima engine is what powers Horizon Zero Dawn as well, which is strange because this is actually also coming to PC as well as it's coming to. This is the thing. So there was like a news story that came out after this trailer that was like, oh my god, we've just found out that Death Stranding is not PS4 exclusive, and if you actually go back to like a news article from 2016 or something, GameSpot reported like, yeah, Kojima has said that this is just a timed exclusivity for PS4. This is coming to PC at some point, which is strange because it's on the Decima engine, which previously hasn't been seen on PC. I'm currently playing through. Well, I've done the first intro missions of Horizon Zero Dawn, and the Decima engine is quite incredible. Yeah.
Is it a similar? Okay. It reminds me of a very similar technology. You'll know the name of it, of the ones they use in Battlefield 5 and Star Wars Battlefront 2 for their landscaping.
Photogrammetry.
Yes, it's sort of similar to that.
It does. It looks incredible. There's no doubt about that. You can see there's a few different shots. I'm still very confused as to what it is, but at some point in the gameplay trailer, they go back to World War II. So I don't know if there's some sort of time travel mechanic there.
There's absolutely a time travel element. Yeah.
I don't know. It's okay. Well, leading into sort of more gameplay stuff. This is also from the website. There is no traditional game over state in Death Stranding. Losing your life during combat. You lose your life during combat, and you'll find yourself in an upside-down realm, searching for a way back to the living. Choose your combat methods carefully, as killing your foe is almost never the solution, and every death comes with a consequence. So this kind of sounds a little bit like Dark Souls, Sekiro nonsense, where if you die, like the dragon rot stuff in Sekiro, like if you die so many times, then it has a consequence on the story. I don't know how I feel about this is very. See, this I'm very sort of on the fence about this, because coming up to this, I think a lot of the weirdness and ambiguity has been sort of passed off as like, oh, it's Kojima, it's fine, and Kojima sort of gets a free pass for being obscure. And I don't know if that's just because I'm naive and haven't really played a lot of Kojima games. I'm not quite sure that I fully give Kojima a free pass to like be this obscure with his stuff. Like, obviously it's like creative license and whatever, but he's been tweeting out a lot of stuff in the last sort of week, and he's sort of invented his own sort of genres. He said something like, this is like a brand new stealth / Stranding game. I'm like, well, what does that mean? It's like this is why Kojima needs to have
Kojima friend.
Yeah, it's like this is why Kojima should really do interviews with outlets, because otherwise we have absolutely no idea. It makes it very difficult to write about because we genuinely don't know. So the other thing from the website was help other travellers without ever crossing paths via asynchronous online gameplay, send supplies, share safe houses, and walk in the footsteps of fellow couriers to reunite civilization. So obviously it's going to have some sort of asynchronous online multiplayer. I'm trying to think of another game that had online asynchronous multiplayer, kind of similar. I guess,
Well,
yeah, Dark Souls as well.
I mean, Dark Souls isn't really asynchronous in the sense. Well, you've got the messages,
Yeah,
which
that's
is
that's
pretty
what I'm
asynchronous.
thinking.
Yeah. Um, I think
This is kind of
the
very
thing,
similar.
yeah, I think the thing about Death Stranding right now is you were saying before about how Kojima kind of portrays his stories, portrays his world, and how people sort of give him a free pass. Yeah.
Hmm.
And I think one of the really important things to look at when you're looking at Kojima's work is there's a concept of like there's four different ways to tell stories, and that's a simple story simply told, a simple story complexly told, a complex story told in a simple way, and a complex story told in a complex way.
Yeah.
They're the four ways you can tell a story, and I think that Kojima is absolutely in the field of telling a simple story in a very complex way.
Mm.
I guarantee you that once Death Stranding comes out and we sort of know how the world works and we know the overall story threads in the game, it isn't going to be complicated in the slightest. It's only this sort of high concept, very confusing imagery that's making people go, oh, it's going to be insane and we don't understand it. You're absolutely going to understand it. It's not going to be as complex as you think. It's just, I think it's the sort of faux, not like faux complexity, but like faux like mystery. I don't have a problem with that. If someone's trying to make something look more complex than it is, that I have a problem with. But I sort of like all of this sort of weirdness, especially because I just like things that are fresh.
Mm.
And
I
this
mean,
game's nothing if not fresh.
yeah, I completely agree with that, and I think just to clarify my statement about why Kojima like gets a free pass for this sort of stuff, I don't mean that he shouldn't be making this shit complex and completely unapproachable is probably the wrong word, but difficult to sort of interpret. As long as it is paid off in the game, well, like because if this is just complex for complex sake, like what's the point? Like this has to. I feel like if this is paid off in a way that's satisfying and makes sense, then fair enough, I'm all in for it. Like the way in Metal Gear Solid 5 where you find out that you weren't actually playing Snake the entire time. Like there was definitely like that story thread was not told in the most perfect way, but I'm not sure how much of that had to do with Konami's messing in with Kojima.
Well, Kojima had very little to do with. Well, I mean, he had a lot to do with 5, but also very little to do with 5 at the same time.
He had a lot to do with the first half of 5 because the first half of 5 was quality. The second half was where it went off the fucking rails. But yeah, enough about that. Yeah, but you know what I mean. Like Kojima, I don't want to say he shouldn't be doing this because I'm all for creativity and experimentation in games and stuff like that. But as long as it actually makes sense when the game comes out and it's not just complex for complex sake, then that's me.
I think there's three possibilities, and it's Kojima knowing exactly what he's doing and being able to deliver a story that's both complex, high concept, and understandable to a general sci-fi audience, right? That's pretty unlikely, but I think that that's the ideal outcome. The second would be Kojima releasing the game exactly how he intended it to be released, being absolutely, completely happy with it, and people just kind of being like, "What?" And
Yeah.
that's also fine. And then the only thing that I wouldn't be happy with is if, like you say, he was just being mysterious and complex just for complexity's sake, and it doesn't actually make any sense at all. Like it's not
Yeah.
meant to. It doesn't make sense because it doesn't. You know.
Yeah, like I don't. There's probably someone out there that like who can like you can sort of sit back and enjoy that if you don't think about it too much. But personally, like someone who gets really into the story and the lore of games, I'm like, no, I'm not about that. Like I want to be able to. I want things to make sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't have a problem with suspension of disbelief and jumping logic. Usually,
Yeah, of course.
if something says to me, as long as something straight up says, "This is the world that we have. Now is your chance to believe in it." I go, all right then.
Yeah, exactly.
That's usually what I'll do. Um, and I mean, Metal Gear was full of that. Metal Gear was very much grounded in, like Cold War and
Mm,
like 80s combat, and the way that like Snake, like it's a very grounded, like boots on the ground game,
yeah.
but also mixed with robot cyborgs and people who can do telepathy and make you see like holograms and people who are literally made of liquid. Like and I think that's the attraction.
Mm,
If and it's like I said before, I like I like this game is nothing if not fresh, and even if I'm left bewildered by it, it's going to be a visual spectacle and a roller coaster, and I'm totally on board with it.
yeah, exactly. I'm at a bit of a dilemma now because I was going to move on to a topic because I was going to talk about, you were saying like Metal Gear Solid 5 is very grounded in Cold War. There's some sort of nods, very on the nose nods to this game sort of being influenced by current political events where,
Mm.
America being divided and the whole political landscape over there. However, you just provided me with a perfect segue into the next news story when you said boots on the ground. So I'm just going to say that Death Stranding releases on November 8th, so we don't have that much longer to wait. New
Okay.
Call of Duty announcement.
Wait.
Call of Duty Modern Warfare reboot, because that's not going to get confusing. We've now got Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, Call of Duty Modern Warfare Remastered, and now Call of Duty Modern Warfare Reboot. Uh,
And don't forget that this is the fourth Modern Warfare game, and the
oh,
first
fuck off.
Modern Warfare game was called Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare.
Don't confuse me
Let's
even
not
more.
confuse it anymore, shall we?
I mean, there's been a lot of like talks around like hashtag discourse surrounding this whole like topic of like the silly name of Modern Warfare. I think it's fine. Like
I
the
don't have a
fact that
problem with it. I've been thinking about it, and I thought if it was called Modern Warfare 4, I think it's a worse name than calling it Modern Warfare.
I
I'm okay
mean,
with it now.
this they've said that this is a reboot, which perfectly makes sense because they were saying like if you look at the events that happened in the story of Modern Warfare 3, nukes go off and the Russians invade. It's like where can you go with the story that's interesting after that? So you kind of have to soft reboot it in order to do something
You
that's
kill like yeah, like
remotely interesting.
you've killed the three like throughout the three games. You've literally killed the three most terror-inducing, horrible warmongers that exist in the current landscape of the universes that exist within those games, and there'd be nowhere else to go.
Exactly. And also those games' political landscapes are very outdated at this point. The last one came out when was it? 2010?
Yes.
2011? So I mean, nearly 10 years on, I feel like they can probably do something that's a little bit more, current, politically relevant now,
We'll
which we'll
get
talk
onto the
about in
story.
a little bit. Yeah,
We'll get into the story and how they're going to deal with it a bit later on.
yeah. So this is it's going to have the return of Captain. But sorry, I should say this was just like announced in a trailer that they released. It's about 2 minutes long. It's got single player. It's got a co-op, which I can't remember what's it called again.
Spec
The
Ops.
co-op Spec Ops. Yeah, I think that
Well,
was in the
Special Ops.
previous.
Well, I think we should call it Special Ops because now there's a game called Spec Ops.
Yeah, that's true. And it's also got, of course, multiplayer, as is the staple of Call of Duty. So it shows the return of Captain Price. He features quite heavily in the trailer, possibly other characters too. If this is a reboot and a different sort of universe, we could see the return of is it Soap and Ghost?
Soap, Ghost, and Yuri.
Yuri. Okay, full disclosure, I have not fully. I actually yet. No, I'm just gonna say I haven't played any of the Modern Warfares. I've played the first couple of missions of each of them and not got that very far. I do plan on doing a live stream where I play through all of not all at once, but a series of live streams where I play through all of them in the next few weeks. So
Don't worry
stay.
so much about 3 if you don't get to 3, but 1 and 2 are must plays.
I'm gonna get. Well, I've got Modern Warfare Remastered on the PS4 because it was on PlayStation Plus, but I might just get it on PC because it's easier. And then if I like 1 and 2, I might do 3. We'll see. But yeah, so this is a reboot. It's not a continuation of the previous Modern Warfare. This is a new story that is culturally relevant to current affairs. So you will play as both an international special forces unit as well as freedom. Well, they've called them freedom fighters, but I mean that is interchangeable with terrorists depending on which side you're on. So it kind of, from what they've said so far, it sounds like they're going very much for controversy. If you remember the No Russian mission from Modern Warfare 2, where you literally just shoot up an airport as a terrorist, it sounds like they're very much going for sort of that
No,
tone.
yeah, no Russian is. It's people might not be so happy with people calling it a sort of maybe milestone's not the word, because milestone
that glorifies it a little
milestone
bit, doesn't it?
indicates that it's that it's being glorified. But I think not to credit the devs, not like it's so hard to talk about because I don't want to say it in a way that neither gives them credit nor doesn't give them credit. But the fact that that was in a game was pretty important.
Yeah, it not to say that it validated games as a method of sort of like intelligent storytelling, because that, yeah, for the same reasons you just explained, but it was a bold move to include it. And from what they've said, it sounds like they're doing very similar things with this. So everything is sort of apparently supposed to be scaled. It's on a new engine as well. This is like big important news.
God,
Because Call of Duty for the how many is there now? Like 17, something like that. Probably more than that. They've all been on. Well, they've all been on the Quake engine.
Yeah.
They've all been on the Quake engine, which was from 1999, even like up to and including Black Ops 4, which has had all sorts. Like, obviously, it's updated with the time, so it's barely recognizable as the Quake engine now. But yeah, I remember even in like some of the previous ones, like the frame rate was tied to the mouse sensitivity, and it was like weird shit like that makes it through for like the last 20 years. So this new engine has been in development for the last 5 years in house. So this is the first time that they're using it in a Call of Duty. Everything is technically everything in the trailer is like I don't want to say gameplay, but it's like in engine. So the typical malarkey.
I would definitely not be surprised if the trailer being gameplay, especially how the previous ones have looked in their campaigns.
Exactly. I mean, Black Ops 4 it's not an ugly game, even if it is on the Quake engine. It looks pretty good.
And they usually scale down the graphics for multiplayer as well. The single player campaign of I think it was Advanced Warfare looked pretty amazing.
Yeah, even Black Ops 3. And I think I played the first couple of missions of Modern Warfare Remastered on the PS4, and that looks pretty stunning in 4K. So this game, apparently what they've done is they've scaled all the assets to be more realistic. So if you look at sort of like the previous Call of Duty games, when a guy runs up a staircase, the staircase will be ridiculously wide. You can fit like 3 people up at a time, which you don't really notice in a video game because scale's a very difficult thing to sort of grasp in video games. But apparently what they've done with this one is that they've scaled everything up to be much more realistic. If you kind of similar to Rainbow Six Siege, I think, where like everything seems to be more.
Rainbow Six still has a very decent amount of geometry in its levels that have to accommodate the size of the player characters because they are quite big. It's not perfect. Like the environments in Rainbow Six do look quite strange, but it's definitely a lot different than you'd see in like an early Call of Duty, as you say.
Yeah, exactly. So the purpose of this is to make things a bit more claustrophobic and more realistic. So I think like they're trying to go for realism, but like I don't really want to say like not realism in the sense of like armor, but like arcade realism.
To sort of, which is my favorite kind.
Exactly, yeah, because you don't have to deal with all the faff of like holding control and then using the scroll wheel to decide how much you're going to bend your left knee. So the single player is being written by some Uncharted veterans, so people who worked at Naughty Dog, who've written stuff like the old Uncharted games. Last of Us was a Naughty Dog game, but I don't know if these devs specifically worked on Naughty Dog. Whatever, the story is in good hands. The one thing I want to say about the story, about this whole sort of going for controversy, if it's similar to what we were talking about with Kojima, if it is controversial just for the shock factor and just because it's like controversial for controversy's sake, just don't do that, because I feel like you're doing a disservice there and potentially being rather offensive with the sensitive topics that you're like including. If it provide, I genuinely think that it has the scope to provide some intelligent commentary on the current political climate and all that sort of stuff. And if it does do that, then I'm very, very excited for this. I don't know how you feel.
I am extremely interested in what they could do here. They have such a good opportunity to do something like that, especially now that they have the ability to now that they have a single player campaign that wasn't even featured in Black Ops 4. They're clearly putting it there for a reason. I think Call of Duty Modern Warfare, the original, was released in 2007, and Modern Warfare 2 in 2009. And I forget what year Spec Ops: The Line came out. Do you know that off the top of your head? You can do a quick Google.
I want to say, I'm going to guess before I Google 2013.
2012, I'll say.
2012 it was.
Okay,
Yeah, it was 2012.
So, actually, that's interesting because Modern Warfare 3 was 2011. So Spec Ops: The Line came after all, and as did Battlefield 4, I think.
Yeah, 4 was 2013.
Okay, so it's okay. So it wasn't after Battlefield 4. But Spec Ops: The Line came after Modern Warfare 1, 2, 3, and Battlefield 3, which were the four sort of quintessential, massive blockbuster Modern Warfare shooters. You know, like these were so important back in the day. Like to the point where I saw this announced, and I'm not really a fan of modern sort of Modern Warfare grounded shooters. I'm not. I don't really like Counter-Strike. I mean, I like Counter-Strike's sort of Counter-Strike as a game is interesting. It's just the sort of what is it?
I think is it the shooting atmosphere. You don't like in Counter-Strike?
No, it's not the shooting. It's just like I can't get attached to that that world.
I guess, yeah. Well, Counter-Strike's not really a narratively heavy. Yeah, I couldn't tell you for the life of me.
Yeah, it's not a narratively heavy game, but it's still nice to have some aesthetic qualities and some nice sort of background to your shooting because it makes it a bit more entertaining. So I've never really been a fan of that sort of thing, but even when I saw this announced, I loved these games so much when I was younger that I am definitely really, really into this. And when I was younger, that sort of controversy was actually kind of appealing to me because it was like, I'm playing something that's grown up, but now that I look back on it, if 12-year-old me thought it was cool because it was grown up, I don't think it was doing a very good job. You know? But the reason I mentioned Spec Ops: The Line having come after all of those games is Spec Ops: The Line does exactly... have you played it?
I've played the first few missions. I'm gonna come across as a horrendous gamer in this fucking podcast because every game that I mention that I've played the first couple of missions.
That's what every game is like, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I know. I'm gonna say this. I probably won't. I need to do a playthrough of Spec Ops: The Line. It's on my list. My list is huge, but
it would be interesting if you did that after you'd done the Modern Warfares.
That would be interesting, actually. Yeah, I might do that.
Because I don't know how much you know about Spec Ops: The Line.
I know it has a twist. I know it has a twist, and I know that it's incredibly poignant.
It's extremely poignant. I don't know if I want to spoil it or not, but
don't spoil it if I'm going to do this stream.
Yeah, I won't. But all I'll say is that what you're wanting this new COD to do, I feel like Spec Ops: The Line has already done.
Yeah. Okay.
So
well, I think
I don't know. I don't know what this game could do, and if it takes the opportunity to say something poignant and kind of say, "Hey, we're a Call of Duty game. We have multiplayer and a fun co-op section, but we're gonna grab you by the emotional and real balls now." And kind of say to you, hey, this is fiction. This is okay. You can go into multiplayer, you can shoot people, you can go into Spec Ops, you can shoot people. That's great. But for these 10 hours of campaign, we're going to show you what war is like.
Well,
that's what I wanted to do.
I absolutely agree, but I do feel like Modern Warfare has an opportunity here to bring something to the conversation because even though, as you say, Spec Ops: The Line has already done this sort of thing before, that was in 2013, and even though 2013 doesn't sound like that far away, it was, what are we on, 6 years now? Mm-hmm. 6 years since then. That the political climate in terms of counter-terrorism has changed drastically since then, even in those last 6 years. So I do think they have an opportunity to like articulately commentate on the current like political climate on what we have
I'm excited to see what they do, because if they take the opportunity to do it and they do it with, well, maybe reckless abandon's the wrong word, but I want them to just go and do what they want to do.
Yeah, also I think that this is
perfect.
Probably what they've been wanting to do for a while, because the last two Infinity War games was Advanced Warfare was Sledgehammer. What was it? Was it Ghosts and then Infinite Warfare?
Yes. It was Ghosts, Advanced Warfare, Infinite Warfare.
No, Advanced Warfare was Sledgehammer.
Oh.
I think, well, Ghost is 2013, and they're on a 3-year dev cycle. So 2013 was Ghost.
2016, so yeah.
Infinite Warfare was 2016. So yeah, this is, yeah, okay. So those last 2 games. Ghost was, I feel like Ghost was difficult. I don't even remember what Ghost was. It was kind of like a Black Ops 2 sitch, where it was like future, but not future that much. It was kind of like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it was like a semi-post-apocalyptic
Yeah.
Call of Duty. And it was kind of interesting because it felt a bit more grounded than the other ones have. It was less floaty and not in the sense of like jump packs, because we hadn't got to that point yet.
Yeah.
But it was less floaty and more like the guns had some nice weight to them. That's actually something I really liked about Ghosts. The overall game was a bit but that's something I liked about it, which they're probably going to bring back in this.
I hope so. I mean, to be fair, like, well, we'll talk a little bit about multiplayer. Well, sorry, this has got crossplay as well. This is another big thing. You know, Fortnite is. I saw a comment the other day that someone at Epic Games, I know it was someone at 2K Games, I think, said Fortnite has not had an impact on the industry. I'm like, which rock have you been sleeping under, mate? Like, even just
Who
this
the hell said that?
Someone at 2K Games.
This is what I mean, Josh.
Extreme denial, I think.
Look, this is what I mean. Any time you're like, I doubt my ability in anything, you look at a guy like that and you realize this guy is employed, and he just said that.
I think he's just in denial, to be honest. I mean, Fortnite is like, it has quite obviously changed the way. Well, first of all, we thought we've just did the whole Battle Pass thing, because pretty much every multiplayer game has a Battle Pass live service now, and now with crossplay as well. Because Call of Duty has got crossplay, and I think, as far as I know, it works pretty much the same way as Fortnite. So if you just queue up in a lobby, you'll be placed against other people on your platform. But if you have friends who are on a different platform, you can queue up with them, and then you'll be placed in a pool with multiple platforms. That sort of thing, which I think is fantastic. I mean, I'm all for. Well. They haven't talked about cross progression yet. You know, like Fortnite, you can log on your PlayStation and level up the same account.
I don't think that's as big of a problem with a game like Call of Duty, because you are sort of just. I mean, I don't get as attached to my account in those games as I do with games with a bit more linear progression. I'm kind of just playing it for
definitely
the match.
now. Yeah, definitely now with the way that live services are going. I mean, talking of like Call of Duty multiplayer, I was surprised by how much I adored Black Ops 4 multiplayer, because that got its fucking hooks in me for a good 3-4 months. And
very good.
It's still quality. I mean, it was great when it came out, but now they've added loads of live service stuff where you have to you genuinely have to grind it out just to unlock the new weapons. It is quite scummy, because it forces you to hand over a lot of extra cash if you want any of the new content.
It might also be doing the old Battlefield 5 thing where it's forcing player retention.
Yeah, exactly. It is doing that, yeah, because they constantly swap out modes and stuff. So it's not quite as good as it was when it first came out, which is my only worry for Modern Warfare. I hope that they don't sort of fall into that trap of the whole live service marketing thing, because it would genuinely do the game a disservice, I think.
I think it genuinely depends how... I mean, we're coming up... I mean, Black Ops 4 hasn't even been out yet. So I think it's important for Activision to genuinely have a look at how their live service has impacted the public opinion and financial gain of Black Ops 4, and that will influence what happens in Modern Warfare, the remake. Because it's not even we can't even call it the reboot, because it's had one.
Yeah, well, it's had a remake. It's not a reboot. It's far too technical.
Yeah, that's annoying, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very cumbersome.
An executive decision. Modern Warfare 4, right? Yeah, that's what it's going to come down to. If all of that stuff is in the game, can we get annoyed at Activision? Yes. But should we get more annoyed at the people who bought that stuff? Yes. Because they're the reason it's happened.
I mean, you say that, but it's very difficult to, I know the whole vote your wallet thing is like, it is a thing, but it's very, there's always going to be people, there's always going to be that market, if you know what I mean.
There's always going to be a whale.
That market's always going to be profitable. To
be fair, that's who they target. That's why mobile games are so popular, because you go on a mobile game, like, I've not actually played Clash of Clans, but I imagine that Clash of Clans is very much like this, or
Mm.
like just one of those. You see them constantly in adverts. It's like it's the exact same game reskinned, and then you look at the like in-game shops, and you're like, who the fuck is paying for this? And you
Yeah,
realize
exactly.
that it's no one. It's 0.1% of the player base who have an absurd amount of money, who the development team actually call whales,
Mm.
sink that money into. That's who they
Exactly.
target. They target whales.
But it's always going to be profitable, which is annoying. Yeah, that's my only worry about the multiplayer for Call of Duty, because it would if the campaign is as poignant as it says it's going to be, and the multiplayer is as money whoring as I think it's going to be,
But
I think that's going to be really annoying.
here's the interesting thing, though, because wouldn't that even give them because the multiplayer and single player are not being developed at the same time by the same teams, I imagine.
Well, yeah, probably, but I don't. Full disclosure, I have no idea how they make what
Couldn't
the
it?
sort of development structure is of these things.
Couldn't it just give? What if they had the opportunity to sort of like talk shit at themselves? Because they have
Mm,
to make the multiplayer. Like they have to make the multiplayer. They have to make it within a. I mean, they haven't shown us what the multiplayer will be like yet. We don't know what form the multiplayer will take. It might be it might be very much like a uh, a Rainbow Six scenario where you are an operative fighting other operatives. You're not fighting for a country. You know, you're not fighting on a front. Very
I'm not
much.
gonna lie. If they, as far as I'm concerned, they need to ditch this whole like hero shooter thing, because that was the one thing I didn't like about Black Ops 4 was that I hate it. Well, not hated, but I seriously dislike. I don't know. I'm just. I don't know if it's nostalgia or whether I feel like I'm longing for just a classic. This, you pick your loadout, you pick your attachments on your weapons, and it's just you versus another person. There's no like pull out like ultimate abilities or tactical abilities or stuff like that. You have your grenade, you have your gun, go into arena and shoot some people. That's what I'm longing for, that like classic loadout shooter experience that
I think we are definitely moving away from that. I do think that.
I hope so.
I don't think.
But
And when I was saying that, I didn't mean in terms of individual abilities. I more was talking about the fact that you are an operative and you're fighting other quote operatives. You're not fight. You aren't America. You aren't America fighting, some unnamed thing in the Middle East. That's not what I want from my multiplayer. I think we're past that. I don't like that anymore. It's
okay.
it's kind of similar to like in Counter-Strike, how I'm still not completely on board with being like an American, like a very clearly American soldier shooting guys in turbans.
Mm.
Like they may be terrorists, but I don't think that's the message we want to promote. I mean, understandably, there are some Counter-Strike maps where you're fighting not like world appropriate terrorists. Like you're
Yeah.
fighting like fictional terrorists. Um, I just hope that in the like if they're going to do this campaign, they don't just undercut it by then just switching to a multiplayer that completely undercuts the idea of the campaign.
Yeah, I got you. I understand that. Well, if we are going to find out some new information, it's more than likely going to be at E3, which is in like 2 days. So, I'm very, very much looking forward to that.
They'll do a
as
story.
I'm
I
sure
think
you
they'll
are.
do what they normally do. They'll do a story mission on stage.
They've announced it. They've announced it very late. Usually, they announce a new Call of Duty like at the beginning of May, and they have like a full stage experience and go through everything. But yeah, they've to have just released like a 2-minute trailer this late in the game is very un-Call of Duty. Side note: are we placing bets for when Blackout's going to go free to play? Because Modern Warfare doesn't have a battle royale mode. Are they over battle royale, or
Um,
when's Blackout going free to play? It has to, right?
I think Blackout will be. I think Blackout will still be part of Black Ops 4. They might reduce the price of Black Ops 4. Blackout, sorry, will probably go free to play. And if they are going to announce that, I'd guess it would be. I mean, it would have to be at some point before Modern Warfare 4 releases,
Yeah,
because they don't want to split people between the two.
exactly.
Um,
Like,
so I'm
well,
guessing
having just like the the one battle royale mode in a Call of Duty game in the game before like this brand new one would just completely undercut Modern Warfare. So I don't see why they would continue to charge for Black Ops 4. You know what I mean? It's like Blackout's in a very weird position because Call of Duty is an annual franchise. And
to me, that sounds like the sort of thing that they might drop it during E3 weekend. They might just say, we're doing this as like as a bit of news for them to pick up on, or maybe just after it's finished to kind of keep the hype train going.
It's definitely something I see happening. We're getting into a little bit into our E3 predictions there, so we'll save that for a little bit later. Moving on to the next story, because I've just realised that we're 40 minutes into a podcast and we still have 5 news stories to go through. Okay, we'll breeze through these. Okay, so there was a Halo Reach PC gameplay live stream the other week, showing off Halo Reach on PC for the first time, actual gameplay. They talked a little bit about how the development's going and sort of what they plan for the release of Halo on PC. So when, of course, the games on PC are releasing when in chronological order of the story when they're ready. They're not all releasing at once. So they plan for a seasonal...
That's the words I want to hear.
Yeah,
when they're ready.
When they're ready.
God, it's like my bondage safety word.
I mean, we say when we're ready, but I mean, Star Citizen's been releasing when it's ready for the last 6 years, and that's still not out. So there's a fine line there.
But they ask people to pay for it.
Yeah,
I think it's a bit different.
So they're planning a seasonal content system, so when each new game releases, that's when a new season will start, and each new season will have new cosmetic unlocks. So, I mean, the fact that they're planning like a seasonal content system, to me, indicates that they're aiming to release a new game once every like 2 to 3 months, because that's sort of a rough sort of time window for when, how long a season would last. It's usually, like, Apex is 100 days, Fortnite's like 90 or something like that. So, 2 to 3 months is usually about right for one season. Each season will be free, so there's no, I don't think they've said
pass.
There's no battle pass.
Well, it's a paid game, so that's fair enough.
It's a paid game. There isn't going to be any battle pass. I think there's microtransactions for cosmetics, but there's no like. I don't think there's going to be any like. Not to use the Randy Pitchford definition of microtransactions, but there's no like obtrusive microtransactions where you can pay for booster packs and shit like you could in Halo 5. So the seasons also won't disappear. This is what interests me. You'll be able to go back and unlock items chronologically, which I was talking about harkening back to like a classic progression system where you could like just play and like unlock stuff in a linear fashion, no matter of a time limit. Because that's what really fucking bugs me about Battlefield 5 is that it tries to grab my attention. It begs for my attention over a period of time by limiting the amount of time I have to unlock content, and that frustrates me when I've paid £60 for a game.
It's playing on a very human thing as well. Of this is a thing, and if you don't get it, it'll be gone, and it doesn't matter how insignificant that thing is. You want it.
Yeah, the amount of time I put into Fortnite just so I could get a fucking John Wick skin that I'm never going to use again is ridiculous. So, point aside, anyway, the seasons will not disappear, and you'll be able to go back and play through them very much like it's like the old assignments in Battlefield 3 and 4. I love it. So what's also interesting is that your Master Chief Collection Xbox progression will carry over, and they also plan on having cross-play progression at some point later down the line. So if you play on Xbox One and you play on PC at the same time, you'll be able to level up your character at the same time. It's not a target for launch, but it will come later, which I think is fair enough. It's not essential, but it will be nice to have.
All I can say to that is thank Christ our friend Dan is going to be able to do that.
Yeah, that's true. Mind you,
all again.
To be fair, he said that he's not played very much because the technical issues of that on Xbox have been horrendous. So, speaking of technical stuff, they talked a little bit about the difficulty that they're having with developing it for PC, because Halo Master Chief Collection will eventually utilize about 11 different engines, because there's like a different... Well, there's a different engine for each individual game, and then if you consider that Master Chief Combat Evolved... Halo Combat Evolved was remastered for 360 and then put on Xbox One, and now it's being put onto PC. That's like 4 different engines you've got there. Same for Halo 2. And because they're putting it all on PC, that's another engine on top of the one that they already used. They're also using Unreal Engine as part of this now. So Unreal Engine, they're using it as like a wrapper to connect all of the games with menus and all of the like progression system and all that stuff is going to be in Unreal Engine. So that's like 11 engines that are going to be running it on top of each other, which they say is like that's what they're working with, which is why it's taking a while. It's like kind of like an ongoing project.
Sounds like someone needs like Nexus Engine Manager.
Yeah, something like that. So they also talked about split screen. Split screen isn't a priority at launch, but may come later if there is a demand. I don't know why people are demanding a split screen feature on PC.
I genuinely don't know either. I mean,
I don't have a need for it.
I hate talking about it I I hate discussing it because I don't want to come off as if I'm being all like, oh, just get over it. You know, like this is the future, bruh. Like I don't want that.
Yeah,
I don't want that. I'm just saying.
Just because it doesn't suit us doesn't mean it doesn't suit other people.
Of course. I just think that it is genuinely prudent and smart to say this is not a development priority.
Yeah, exactly.
And that is a
acknowledge
fact, right?
Yeah,
that is a fact.
I mean, there are more and more people. They did say that more and more people are starting to put PCs in their living rooms as like entertainment centers. And obviously, with the future of streaming, gaming on your TV is probably going to use more split screen stuff. But definitely at the minute, not a priority for launch. Okay, so flighting is like their beta system that they use. That's going to be focused. Yeah, it's a little bit pretentious, but whatever. It's going to be focusing on Steam, and they said that the first wave is coming in June, and they weren't specific. They said either before or after E3. I mean, E3 is the middle of June, so go figure. It's at some point in June. I mean, E3 is in 2 days, and it's not started yet, so it's obviously after June.
Well, no, to me, that says, well, what does it say? Like, it's some point before or after E3, right?
Yeah.
E3 is tomorrow, and they're not going to release it today. So when the Microsoft conference happens, they're going to say, Master Chief Collection, beta now.
Yeah, that's the thing.
That's what's going to happen tomorrow.
I hope so, because I'm very, very excited for this. They also said that Steam achievements will be available, and they were talking about pricing at E3. So this is definitely going to feature on the stage at E3. Each game is going to be available ad hoc. So if you just want Reach or you just want 3, you can buy them individually. And this is the pricing that they're going to like talk about in the next couple of days. But I think you will be able to buy like a full package if you want to, like, when Reach comes out and just pre-order the next ones. Then you will be able to do that. That's absolutely what I'm doing.
Yeah, because I'm personally not that interested in playing 1 and 2. Definitely not 1.
Okay.
2 maybe.
It'll be interesting to see whether you'll be able to purchase the single player and the multiplayer separately, because I
don't think so.
know a lot. It's very unlikely, but I think if you don't purchase one, even though you're not interested in the single player, you'll be missing out on multiplayer map queues and things like that. So that'll be interesting to see. And I think that's pretty much it. There's a full like War and Peace novel of their development blog if you want to go read it. I read the first half, and then I realized it was half one, and I was like, right, I'm going to sleep. So if you want to read like the full development blog, it'll all be in the show notes. There's a hell of a lot more that they talked about, so go and read that. Right, Pokemon press conference and direct. So there's been 2 separate Pokemon events in the last couple of days. There was like the last week or so. There was a Pokemon press conference, which was in Japan,
which was
and
like
then there was a
Pokemon. It's Pokemon then.
Yeah, it felt very corporate watching it, and then there was a direct, which was a couple of days ago. So I'm going to talk about the conference because I read all the shit about that, and then I haven't seen the direct. So Owen's going to try and explain Sword and Shield to me as best he can. So they announced that they are obviously Detective Pikachu film came out a few weeks ago. I saw it. Just side note, it's pretty good. Go see it. They are working on a Detective Pikachu game for Nintendo Switch. I think it's a brand new game because there is a Detective Pikachu game for the 3DS. I don't think this is like a port. This is like a brand new Detective Pikachu branded game. They didn't talk about when it's coming out, but it's on the way. So there's a new system called Pokemon Home, which is a cloud service that will collate all of the Pokemon you've collected across modern Pokemon games. So that's coming to iOS and Android in 2020. And I've put that includes and then not included anything else. So that's a great job on my part for the fucking show notes. But it's obviously like Pokemon Go on the phone, Pokemon Let's Go on the Switch, and any sort of like, I assume maybe Sword and Shield at the end of this year. And all these extra.
It's essentially the modern equivalent of someone wanting to complete a collection If you're interested in the collection element of Pokemon, and less so the RPG element, which probably will be what you're interested in, if you're playing Pokemon Go and Pokemon Let's Go, because that's what those games were about, they weren't about the RPG mechanics. That's what this is what this is for. You know, this is for you.
I absolutely see myself using this because as someone who plays Pokemon Go on the phone quite regularly, I have Let's Go on. I haven't actually played. My first Pokemon game was Pokemon Go, and my second Pokemon game was Pokemon Let's Go. So I am the quintessential target audience for Nintendo's like current slew of Pokemon games.
Well, they're doing it very well because they're going for an entirely new market. Because I don't think the 3DS sold. Well, it sold, but I don't think it had the quite the audience that the Switch did.
Absolutely.
And to basically they've managed to just get their Pokemon canon out, and now they're firing it at children, as they did in the 90s. So they're probably very excited about being able to do that again.
Absolutely. Well, it's working. Well, not even children. I mean, I'm 20, and they've got me hooked just purely with Pokemon Go and Pokemon Let's Go.
Well, I'm like Rosa from Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Like, they showed me a picture of Wooloo, and I was like, I've seen Wooloo for 5 seconds. If anything happens to it, I'll kill everyone in this room and then myself.
Absolutely. So, yeah, I'm absolutely the target audience for that, and I can't wait to properly use it. Pokemon Sleep. Okay, this is a weird announcement. Okay, so they've touted this as, so when Pokemon Go released, it gamified walking. This is now going to gamify your sleep. So
I'm totally down. I just think it's funny. I think it's.
I mean, as someone who is currently trying to like really struggling to find the balance between life, work, and sleep, this apps again. I don't know. I think Nintendo. Are you listening? I mean, I've got an Alexa and a Google Home in my thing and multiple cameras, and I swear that they're watching me because everything they're releasing at the minute. Show? I think I genuinely am. Like, if I don't. Nintendo are obviously listening in because everything that they're releasing at the minute is perfectly targeted to me, and it kind of worries me.
Essentially, what Nintendo are doing now is saying, right, we want you all to take care of yourselves, but clearly you aren't capable of doing that. So we're going to let Pokemon do it for you, right?
I'm all for it. I love it. So to come along with Pokemon Sleep, like, well, they said that it tracks your sleep and turns that into some sort of gameplay mechanic, and I've no idea what that gameplay mechanic is. But it's coming in 2020, so we'll find out then. To come along with that, they've also announced a new hardware thing. So if you remember the Pokemon Go Plus, that was like a little thing that you could use alongside Pokemon Go for your phone, and it would make a noise when you were near a Pokemon. You could like pretend to throw it to catch it. It was a little bit weird. That was called the Pokemon Go Plus. They've announced a new hardware. Would you like to? Oh man, you've read the show notes now.
I haven't actually. I haven't seen.
Okay, do you know what it's called? Have a guess.
The Pokemon Sleep Plus.
No, it's called the Pokemon Go Plus Plus.
Oh, piss off!
But it's spelt Pokemon Go PLUS and then a plus sign. It's genius, is what it is. It's 500 IQ. So what this does.
That sounds like when a JRPG releases the 7th remake of itself. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, exactly.
Did you ever see that? Yeah. I'm going to Google it. There was a DLC for Dead Rising 4. Dead Rising 4 DLC.
I don't remember this. I forgot Dead Rising 4 existed, I'm not going to lie. Remember Dead Rising 3? Dead Rising 3 was super serious, and then I think Dead Rising 4 just embraced like the comical aspect of it, like 1 and 2 did. And then, I don't know, it completely fell off my radar.
Yeah, I was never interested in it. But it basically, I can't find it, but it had a DLC that was called, like, Dead Rising 4 Super Ultra Omega X. Oh. It like had 20 different things after it. It's just like kind of poking fun at stuff like that.
Yeah. I remember that now. So this is, I assumingly does everything that the old Pokemon Go Plus does, but it's now also tracks. You can use it as a tracker for Pokemon Go during the day, and then you place it on your pillow to track sleep data, and it sends it to your phone via Bluetooth. and that's somehow how the gameplay mechanic works. No idea. Nintendo are obviously some sort of like weird. This is quintessential Nintendo. This,
It really
um,
is, and I love it.
yeah, and you can't fault them for it.
I'm
So
guessing what it'll be is you'll input what you want your sleep schedule to be. You then won't be able to change it, or you'll only be allowed to change it a certain amount of times. And then if this device detects you operating outside of that, there'll be some sort of penalty. But if you're performing inside that sleep schedule, you'll get more benefit inside the game. That's what I'm guessing. That's what I'm guessing it'll
yeah.
be.
We'll have to see. It's definitely strange. I mean, I use an app at the minute that tracks my sleep and stuff. And to be like, honestly, I'd be in this literally just for the sleep tracking data. I mean, the Pokemon stuff would be like just a nice added bonus because I'm not well. I don't want to say that I'm enjoying looking at my sleep tracking data because that makes me sound quite sad. But you know what I mean. Like I'm trying to
It's an interesting thing to look at.
I'm trying to be
You
more
spend a
aware
third
of
of your
my.
life doing it, so you should be a
I
bit
mean,
more
I
interested in
don't.
it.
I don't apparently. Apparently, I'm awake the entire night.
Do you feel like you're awake the entire night?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, no, I have a massive. All of my graphs at the minute say that I'm awake until 2 a.m. and then I dip to a deep sleep between 2 and 3 a.m. and then I gradually come up to being slightly asleep at about 4 a.m. and then I sort of have a sort of roller coaster between awake and slightly asleep between 4 and 8 a.m. That's how it always goes.
So you just have a sort of seizure for 4 hours and then you wake up.
Yeah, pretty much. So I don't know. Maybe the app's wrong, but I've tried a couple and they all say the same thing. So probably not. So yeah, I'm very interested to see what this does purely on a health basis because I wanted to talk about Pokemon Go because I've recently I think in the first episode I said I was running a marathon. I didn't get to run the marathon because during my training I completely fucked my ankle and I still don't know what's wrong with it. But during that time where I couldn't run, I get very antsy when I can't exercise and I get dead stressed. So Pokemon Go was a really, really good help. That's when I started playing Pokemon Go again because it got me out of the house walking. Like I can walk, I just can't run. So having Pokemon Go as like a reason to get out and do stuff would really, really helped me a couple months ago. And I'm hoping that this Pokemon Sleep thing does a very similar thing. But yeah, that's all the news as far as I know from that Pokemon press conference. So let's go to the direct. Go on, hit me up with this Pokemon. Was it just Sword and Shield? Or did they talk about other stuff?
It was just Sword and Shield. So Nintendo have, as they've been doing for a while, they just do directs about specific games now, which I like because you don't. Which is what EA is doing for the conference this year, isn't it?
I mean, I'll talk about that a bit later, but I'm pretty sure that's just an E3 strat.
Well, we'll see. I mean, Sony did something called State of Plays, which are essentially Sony directs.
Yeah.
And I'm liking that sort of form of content. But anyway, they did a direct for the newest mainline Pokemon game, Sword and Shield. Now, this is the game people thought Let's Go was going to be. Pokemon Let's Go, Pikachu and Eevee, people were like, that's a very strange name for it, because, I mean, the naming of the previous games in the series, like Diamond Pearl, Black and White, Red and Blue. Sun and Moon, yeah, but it doesn't fit to just have two Pokemon names. And then we found out that Let's Go was a very much, I don't want to use babyfied, but it was babyfied Pokemon experience.
It was as we talked about earlier to try and bring in a new audience, and
I think it did work, especially for kids and maybe for some new for some casual players who might be our age or a bit old. I think it definitely worked, but this is the game that has been, I think, a long time coming, especially because the 3DS didn't have a huge user base. And now for a mainline Pokemon game to come to the Switch as popular as it is, this is gonna be kind of crazy. For a multitude of reasons. So the usual Pokemon fare can be expected. You know, you've got several environments, you've got an overarching story which is relatively loose. You know, it's not like a very focused JRPG style story. It's still very much like battle, level up, be strong enough to go to new areas, capture capture as many Pokemon as possible sort of environment. However, the gameplay from the 1995, I believe, was the first Pokemon game. The gameplay from that game all the way through to Sun and Moon looked pretty much the same. I mean, obviously the graphics improved in quality. There's no doubt about
Yeah,
that.
but it's always been like a sort of top down
Top down,
isometric
yeah,
thing.
top down isometric, um, route based gameplay. And if you don't
Yeah,
know what, I'll explain to Josh. Route just sort of means levels between cities. So you'd have a main
yeah.
city, and then you go on a route, and then you get the next city, and it would sort of move on from there.
It's like faux open. It's like isometric open world, really, but
Yeah,
not
it was
huge. Yeah,
it was as open. It was as not open world as open world can get.
yeah,
Essentially,
exactly.
this game is taking what appears to be a Breath of the Wild stance, where
Really?
you have
I
full
haven't. I haven't just disclosure. I haven't seen anything of this direct, so anything that comes here is a complete surprise to me.
you have full 3D control over your character and the camera. You can go anywhere. I don't know if it's locked to routes. I don't know if you have to load into different routes. It might be seamless. There might be some like faux loading screens. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
Um,
I mean,
but
every game has faux loading screens.
yeah, yeah. But it's very much a sort of they say it in the direct is if you need make sure you explore every single inch of this world because you can do that now. That
Jesus.
you have the ability to look up and down and see something that looks cool and think, how do I get to that? And as with the previous Pokemon, you need specific Pokemon to do certain things. So if there's an obstacle you can't get, you need a Pokemon who has the Smash. That's gonna be embarrassing that I forget the name of it. But if you need to go over water, you need Surf. If you need to fly, you need Flight. So there might be specific items and things that you see that might house rare Pokemon or rare items that you need to get to, but then you need specific Pokemon that can give you those skills. I think that's going to be a really interesting thing to do because usually in the old Pokemons, getting these skills is what progressed you through. It was like
Mm.
I need a Pokemon who has this ability, like Cut, to get rid of this grass, and that's my objective for now. Whereas I feel like in this game, it's going to be like sort of like Breath of the Wild, where I want to go and do that. How do I do it?
Mm.
That sort of objective focused. I choose where I want to go and what I want to do and when style gameplay. This is
That genuinely surprises me. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm all for it, but this is like I did not see this coming from a Pokemon game.
and I think I watched um a, a new streamer. Well, he's not a new streamer, but a streamer that I only just started watching, who has quite a large YouTube channel as well. He's the guy who did the Sonic 06 video I showed you the other day.
Oh yeah,
Zero. He did like a reaction to this direct, and he said, "This is what I've imagined Pokemon being from the very start, since I started
right.
playing like Red and Blue."
Mm.
Um, and not only that, but it also like this 3D style camera controlled gameplay then gets better when they introduce what they talked about next, which was the multiplayer element. And the multiplayer element, it looks like it's going to have classic multiplayer one on one tournament style gameplay,
Yeah.
um, which you can do shared with the Switch, or you can do it over LAN. Well, no, sorry, not LAN. You can do it with basically anyone, anywhere. I don't know if it's like ranked in any way,
Mm.
but I imagine there will be quite a big scene for this, seeing as Pokemon battles in even the most recent 3DS games have been really, really popular, like Pokemon tournaments.
I would hope so, but with Nintendo's classic Nintendo approach to multiplayer, I don't want to be cynical, but I guarantee they'll fuck it up somehow. Like, have you seen?
They will
I
probably
haven't
fuck it up somehow, but
I haven't
multiplayer.
included the news about Super Mario Odyssey, not Odyssey, Super Mario Maker 2. But have you seen that?
I have, yes. I've seen the most
Yeah.
stupid thing I've ever seen, and I
So
don't understand it.
Mario Maker 2, you can do multiplayer, but not with your friends. Like you can't specifically, you just do it with random people. And I think that's on like the I can't remember which mode it is now. Just like because you can play like each level in multiplayer, but not with your friends, just random people. Which is a classic Nintendo. I mean, Nintendo only found out what the internet was like last week when they tripped over it in the back office. So
Well, someone
it's
just
like,
brought in like a dial-up like machine.
yeah,
just,
they were like, "What is this?"
Yeah. So I mean, to be fair, the previous multiplayers have worked in the previous Pokemon games pretty well, and this isn't a Nintendo. This isn't a Nintendo first-party game. That's what I should point out.
Really?
Yes, this is made by a company called Game Freak.
Okay.
This isn't Pokemon by Nintendo. This is Pokemon licensed by Nintendo and very much developed by them as well, but made by a company called Game Freak.
That also surprises me.
Well, I think it's because, which is funny because didn't Nintendo make Pokemon Let's Go?
I mean, when you say Nintendo, I think Nintendo is I think Nintendo is like the publisher and the licenser, but isn't there like a development team called Pokemon
Company.
team?
The
Yeah,
Pokemon,
Pokemon Company.
The Pokemon
That's
Company, yeah. So yeah, they were who was involved in that. So I think this has the potential to kind of maybe get rid of the Nintendo isms. Don't hold your breath, but
Hold your breath of the wild.
uh,
Sorry.
but it has. I do think it has the potential. So as opposed to having these normal 1v1 battles, 2v2 battles, that you'd come to expect, there's also now raids. So
Okay.
in the overworld, these things called, I think they're literally just called raid markers, will randomly spawn anywhere. And they're like a pink beam of light, and you go over to it, and sort of similar to Pokemon Go raids, it will show you a Pokemon that has a specific level, and you can queue up to do a raid, and then some other players will get a notification. Oh, what game was it that did this? Oh, like in Division. You know, in the Division
Yeah.
where it occasionally says, a friendly agent needs your help?
Yeah, yeah.
It'll do that. So it'll ping you to say, a friendly trainer wants to hunt, or wants to catch X Dynamax Pokemon. I'll talk about Dynamax in a minute. So you go in as a group of max 4, and you take turns, and you have the ability to essentially catch this giant raid Pokemon. Now, the reason that they're giant is because the main story element of this new game is something called Dynamax, which sounds like a 90s skateboard term.
Yeah.
Essentially,
Or something that you stick in your clothes to wash with.
yeah. Get some Dynamax in there with some Daz.
Yeah, some Daz powder. That's the one.
So yeah, it takes place in the Gala region, which isn't the UK but is.
Is it Gala or Galar?
I pronounce it Gala, like Gala Bingo, because Gala Bingo.
That's the precise reason that I'm not pronouncing it like that.
Gala Bingo, yes, but Gala Bingo exists in the UK, and if it's called the Gala region, I'm calling it the Gala region.
Yeah, but Galar sounds like
Galar sounds a bit more exotic,
mystical.
doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at the environment in the game, it's very much the sort of wilds. It's like it's like Scotland and the Hebrides. Like I mean, I'm sure you've seen the meme of the main female Pokemon trainer just wanting to kick the shit out of everyone.
Yeah, absolutely.
Give me your. I want all your Pokeballs now. You. just rolling up on kids and just like, I want a battle now.
That's exactly what happened. This is actually. Oh, never mind. It's alright. Go on.
Okay then. So in the Galar region, a phenomenon is happening called Dynamaxing, which is causing Pokemon to grow to extraordinary size and extraordinary strength, and it is actually it's endangering local Pokemon wildlife and ecosystems, and trainers are having to come together, as is the story reason for these raids, to obviously not kill, but capture them and make sure that they are brought under control. However, this Dynamax mechanic is being used in 1v1 duels between trainers, and that's what's going to happen in the gym segments and the 1v1 story sections in the game. Is you can now, at one point during each battle, choose to Dynamax any Pokemon you want, which will make it'll basically just buff all its stats to an absurd amount, make it huge. Like, I don't know if you've seen any images of how big they are.
I haven't, no.
They are massive. I'm talking like Megazord style.
Jesus, right, okay.
So you can get like a Megazord style Pikachu, and you can do that once per battle for 3 turns. And you can do this in raids as well, but only one person in each raid can do it, and you have to pick who it is going to be.
Right.
Which could be annoying with random, because I'll be like, I'm just going to... let me just Dynamax my Mudkip or some shit. Like,
I'm just going to casually Dynamax my Magikarp right here.
I'm going to Dynamax my fucking Weedle, mate.
Oi, don't not Weedle. He's genuinely useful.
Weedle is great, as is Caterpie. And they showed...
Is this... Sorry, I'm just gonna... Is this going to include... Is this just Galar region Pokemon, or is this previous... All of them?
So
all previous region Pokemon as well. Like,
so I think there are 751 Pokemon in this game, which they have had to import and improve all the models for to work in 1080p HD.
I don't even want to think about balancing that sort of shit. I mean, developers of Battlefield have.
To be fair, they don't need to, because it's been balanced. It gets balanced with each new game that comes out.
I guess, yeah. If you just sort of if you balance the new ones in line with the previous ones, it's not too much.
Pokemon is very much. I mean, it's a lot more complicated than rock paper scissors, but the way that the game works, as it's not a traditional RPG, makes it actually easier to balance than you'd think.
Yeah.
Because you can teach Pokemon. You can basically teach Pokemon new moves. Lots of new moves, and you can train them in certain ways, and you're limited to it. There's a lot of complex mechanics behind it, but essentially, balance isn't really something you should really worry about. They kind of know what they're doing with that.
Right.
But I think the thing that amazes me, as someone who's just got into 3D modeling in a big way and will be doing it over the next 3 years, and possibly as a fucking career, having to model 721 Pokemon in 1080p HD, which they didn't do on the 3DS because they're actually still pretty pixelated and low res looking, and then have to do that again for their Dynamax versions.
Jesus, yeah.
That's
mental.
Complete with the effects and their attack animations and everything like that is just absolutely insane to me. I just don't understand it.
So when's this releasing?
This releases November 15th.
That's a busy day, November 15th.
Well, November is just a busy month, isn't it?
I know, but already on November 15th we have Star Wars. What's that?
Is that
shit, what's it called?
Why do I want to call it Fallen Order? Is it Fallen Order?
It might be Jedi Fallen Order.
Jedi
Sorry,
Fallen
I don't know
Order.
why I did.
Okay.
Complete
I second guessed myself completely.
Well. It sounds too generic to be real, I'm not going to lie, but yeah, I don't know why I second guessed myself there. That was weird. Yeah, November. I mean, again, we're not even at E3 yet, and November's already busy. So Christ knows what the next 3 days are going to be like. It's okay. November 15th. Is that everything we need to know?
Other than that, they showed 3 characters who now aren't innocent anymore. That's about it.
Aren't innocent? What do you mean by that? Oh, memes. Okay.
Well, they were shown, and then people got their graphic tablets out, and the rest is history.
Okay, so 4chan and DeviantArt are a no-go.
Not 4chan. Rule 34.
Rule 34, okay. Right. Okay, let's move on to Okay, this is a short story. Watch Dogs Legion has been leaked. This is the sequel to Watch Dogs 1, Watch Dogs 2, essentially Watch Dogs 3, but it's not called that. It's called Watch Dogs Legion, which you said you liked.
I love that
Um,
name. I
yeah,
wouldn't have a problem. Um, we'll get on to what it's about and why I like the name Legion. But even without the context of why it's called Legion, that's just a cool fucking name. Especially
I
because of
mean,
how tech, like this is a high concept tech hacking game, and for
mm,
like a very for for a very old English sort of chunky word like Legion to be accompanied with it is just a really nice crunchy name.
it also makes sense. Well, okay, so it's going to be set in London, in modern day London. Apparently, you'll be able to take over any character in the world, and I use the word character very specifically because all the news websites have been reporting this as you'll be able to take over any NPC in the world, which is completely incorrect because if you can't take over an NPC because then it's not non-playable, is it?
Well,
So
you say that, but if you go to the Watch Dogs Legion Twitter page, their banner says "God help the NPCs."
I don't know if that is that a forced. Oh, I don't even know if they like
I
managed to
think
predict that being a meme, whatever. I don't know.
that's what their Twitter bio says. God
Okay.
help the NPCs. So I think you can control any NPC. I don't think you need to worry about them being called NPCs and
Yeah, no,
how that
that
doesn't make sense. I think that's just the fact that that's what we call them.
yeah, I know. I'm being pedantic there by saying character, but whatever. Very similar to Driver San Francisco, which was another Ubisoft driver game where you could just take over any car that you drove
That was
past.
really cool. That was a cool
Yeah,
game.
I haven't played it, but I've heard a lot about it. It was actually it was a massive like the taxi app or like the. I'm playing Watch Dogs 2 at the minute, and I'll talk a little bit about that later. But the Driver San Francisco features heavily in Watch Dogs 2, and I think that's why it's called Legion because it's like you're controlling like not just one sole character, you're controlling like a legion of people. It also makes sense in terms of the Watch Dogs context because I've only just picked up on this now, but when you play Watch Dogs 1, you play as sort of like a very much like an underground character. You're always like on the run from the law, and it seems to be like you and a very small group of people against the world. What's jarring to me about playing Watch Dogs 2 at the minute, probably just because I'm so used to the tone of Watch Dogs 1, is that Watch Dogs 2 is much more about you building up a community of multiple people that go against the establishment.
Yes.
So Watch Dogs 3 feels like obviously we haven't had gameplay yet, but from the name of Legion sounds very much like this is the natural progression of we had like the Soul Underground like sleuth group. Now, then Watch Dogs 2 we had like the sort of developing a bigger group, and now we've
DedSec.
got like an army of DedSec in Watch Dogs 3. At
I don't
least
know if they'll
that's.
be. I don't know if it'll be DedSec.
I mean, it was DedSec in. I mean,
Was it
DedSec's
DedSec in
been
one?
It was
I didn't play
DedSec
one.
in one. DedSec. It was DedSec in one, but it was a very sort of like very gritty DedSec, because the whole tone of that one was much more gritty, and then they sort of turned it a bit more comical in two with the whole tone of that, and made it into like a much more youthful, like millennial sort of approach.
They basically pulled a GTA 5 where the jump from 4 to 5 tonally changed the game. People were like, "Oh, they're just making it into Saints Row. It's just comedy now." And I'm like, "Not really, because if you actually look at comedy, doesn't mean that it's just being played for laughs."
Yeah, no, it absolutely isn't. Absolutely, like I really should have put this right at the end so I could talk about Watch Dogs 2 straight after. But what I'm really really enjoying Watch Dogs 2, but because of its tone, it's not afraid to like have something to say about like the sort of the world of or the like sort of the political landscape of surveillance and tech and all that sort of stuff, which Watch Dogs 1 sort of did, but Watch Dogs 2 feels a lot more tonally aware of what it's doing, and I really appreciate it for that, despite the fact that Ubisoft completely claim that all of their games are non-political. Well, that's a completely different. Well, it's not a completely different story because there was a sort of there was an Amazon listing for Watch Dogs Legion, which I'm convinced is not official because the description does not read as anything official whatsoever. But this description like name drops that the world will be a post-Brexit London, which if you claim that your game is political and you name drop possibly the biggest political fallout of like the last few years, in your setting like description. You have no right to click. It's like we were talking a little bit about earlier. You don't have any right to say like, yeah, we're commenting on politics, but it's not political because we don't want it to be. You don't get that.
That's
right.
like saying, we've made a RPG set in 1944. No, we've made a first-person shooter set in 1944, and it has nothing to do with the war.
I mean, DICE and EA kind of did that. Battlefield 5. Have you?
I've never seen the campaign of them. Battlefield 1 was to do with the war.
I'm not not even just in the multiplayer. There was a news story this last couple of days that I've also not included because it was kind of small in comparison. But they said like it's our take on a World War II shooter, and they purposefully haven't included any sort of Nazi insignia. It's just sort of the Germans, like the German forces against, which is fair enough.
Completely okay with.
Yeah, that's fine. But you are making a political statement by not including the Germans. You're also making a political statement by putting women in there as well. That you can't avoid that, whether you want to be making a political statement or not.
It's a political statement. It's an insignificant one, but
yeah, exactly.
It's a political statement.
But what they did the other day was they put in a new elite character that is.
Oh, I saw this.
Like it's a German war character. That it doesn't include any Nazi insignia. But it's obviously it's part of the German forces, and then they gave it the same name as an anti-fascist. So it was like,
was that intentional?
I don't know. I think they've changed it now, but that was like a news story.
Was it an anti-fascist or a fascist?
An anti-fascist.
Okay.
But then they came out with a statement that said like we do not want to comment on any sort of politics whatsoever with our game, and it's like you can't
have some balls.
Yeah, you can't. You don't get to make a game that is like based on World War II and then claim it's not political. Like that's how the war started. You can't alter your source material.
Do you know? As soon as I saw that guy, I thought he is so comically Nazi that I just imagine every time he shoots someone, he just goes, "Die, Dr. Jones." Like that's just what I imagine, and I'd be okay with that. Not with the fact that he'd be a Nazi. But I'd be down to play as a character who just went, "Yeah, haha, Dr. Jones." That would make Battlefield 5 a lot more entertaining.
I mean, also, I mean, you can say like, obviously, it's perfectly fine to take the stance of we don't want to include Nazis in our game. It's also perfectly fine to include Nazis in the game and take the stance of fuck Nazis. That's exactly what Wolfenstein has done.
Yeah,
and
not
it's
if one
perfectly fine.
Not if one of the multiplayer teams is playing them, though.
What do you mean?
Well, I don't want to be part of the I don't want to be on the Nazi side of a multiplayer match trying to win.
Yeah, I guess, but I mean, I see what you mean. But
I'm okay with ally versus Axis, and these people are clearly allied, and these people are clearly Axis, and we're romanticizing the war because we can sort of do that now. That's what they should have said, because recently. Bit of a strange thing. Remember, we're talking about Watch Dogs.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's all. It's all part of the like discourse, isn't it? Recently, you know the game Total War: Three Kingdoms.
Yes.
Now that game is based on a novel called The Romance of the Three Kingdoms, which essentially chronicles Chinese history. In the Three Kingdoms era, the battles, the key figures, but it romanticizes it. And that's what romantic history is about. It's about taking something from history, realizing this is a cool story that we want to tell, but we're allowed to romanticize it. That was the word that could have saved Battlefield 5's marketing. And they didn't use it. To say, Battlefield 5 is a romanticized version of World War II, because in Total War: Three Kingdoms, there are female generals, there are female soldiers, there is so much shit wrong with it on a historical level, but no one cares.
Yeah,
like literally nobody cares. I've seen no one care, and that's all they had to do.
They used to care. I distinctly remember that. Like I think it was the last Total War game that got released. Was review bombed on Steam because you could play as a female general.
Really?
Like this isn't. Yeah. Oh shit! Not muted that.
I mean, admittedly, that might have not had that sort of romance branding on it.
I think that was Total Rome. I think Total War Rome, Rome 2. I think it was. So yeah, it was based on historical stuff, and
Yeah,
that's why people review bombed it. Same thing for like when people complained that women were in Battlefield 5. You know, I think it was around the same time actually.
I think that's all they had to do though. I like just being able to market this romanticized version of a world war, which has already been portrayed in like 300 war films.
Exactly.
That's all they had to do, and they didn't take the opportunity. But it all comes down, if we're going back to Watch Dogs, like the problem isn't the solution to your political problem in gaming storytelling isn't to not do it. It's to do it and then market it and talk about it in a way where no one's going to be cross. Because no matter
Yeah,
what,
exactly.
no matter what you do, people will be cross.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Like, no, you
We
can't. There's no way you can please everyone.
we
Everyone's obviously got. That's the whole point of politics. Like, everyone has a different opinion, but you can't just not take a stance and try and please everyone because that automatically, it's not the solution to the problem.
if
And
we
you
because
go on.
we talked about Battlefield 5, right? We were on the side that was saying, right, we think this is absolutely fine. It's not a problem. You're making a political statement here, but it's so insignificant. And even though they didn't say it was a romanticized version of World War II, it very clearly was. So we
Yeah,
were like, okay, we don't care. But people were bothered by that. And yet, when we play Division 2, we're cross. Because we're like, oh, there's no political aspect to this game at all. They're not even trying.
yeah,
Like,
exactly.
you can't please everyone. So what you have to do, pick whatever side you want, and then solve the problem afterwards. Because you're not going to please everyone. Just say, this is what we've chosen to do. And rather than being EA, or whoever the guy was on Twitter who said, if you don't like it, don't buy it.
Christ, remember that as well.
If you don't like it, don't buy it. Just say, this is why we've done it. And there's such an easy explanation behind it.
Yeah, I mean, going back to sort of Call of Duty Modern Warfare, where they have an opportunity to articulately comment on current affairs, I think Watch Dogs Legion quite obviously has a very similar opportunity as well, with it being set in London and given our current political climate and the themes running through it from 1 and 2 into 3. They have an absolutely fantastic opportunity to like do something interesting and
But
comment
not,
politically
but not
on
even take a side. Because they've
yeah,
got
exactly.
such, they have such a good environment to work with. Especially like, because I've been in London recently. That shit is like, it's like being in the Fifth Element.
yeah,
Honestly,
exactly.
it's what
Yeah.
it's like.
Oh,
It's the
sorry.
most it's the most culturally diverse whirlwind of craziness you've ever been in, and they
Mm,
can just riff on both sides of like they're gonna probably riff on liberal stuff, they're gonna riff on conservative stuff, like Tories, things like that. Like
yeah.
they can riff on all of it, and at the end of it, they can make a comment and be like, "Hey, let's all not be fucking stupid." Yeah, like that,
Yeah.
that's all I really want them to do.
That's what I mean. If they do the same thing that they did with the Division 2 and just say we're not taking a political statement, I will be cross because
I'll be cross as well.
I uninstalled the Division 2 the other day because I thought about doing the endgame stuff and then all the politics. I was like, I'd thought about the story again and I was like, oh, I don't want to, because not only is it boring without all that stuff, it's just so tone deaf. Like I know I didn't see the original end cutscene, but I'll talk about it again. I got that cutscene where you're a division agent who is being like given a speech by the president of the United States about how you're building a better America by
Mm.
going out and killing all the people that oppose the worldview of this president. I'm like, this is quite clearly a very, very political scene,
Now,
but you don't have any sort of commentary to that, and you refuse to acknowledge it. So it's like, well, it's so tone deaf. Like, why do I want to keep playing this?
but there is a mission after post 30 where you get a you have to go into the White House bunker because you like the guy. I don't know the names of any character in that game because they're
Oh,
about as
neither
interesting
do
as
I.
Dishwater. In fact, Dishwater
Mhm.
probably tastes horrible, and that would make you remember it. He's like, we need to go down here and investigate something. And then you listen to an echo that actually says that the President of the United States is helping Black Tusk.
Right. Okay.
So,
See, that's the shit that I would like to be explored, because genuinely at that point at the end, I was like, we're the baddies.
are we the
We're just an.
baddies?
Are we the baddie? Yes, we are, because we're just the oppressive government that kills everyone that doesn't share our worldview.
But yeah, it's
And
you see the president in like a top secret lab handing over samples of the virus
oh
to
shit.
Black Tusk, and him saying, I don't remember the exact scene, but I was like, thank God for that. Like, thank God we tried it.
Yeah.
Thank God we did something.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. That's what I want Watch Dogs to just not. It doesn't even. Well, I would like it to go all in, but at least have some sort of intelligent discourse surrounding the obvious like turmoil of the political scene that it's in, because that would genuinely be interesting. And I mean, I do have hope, because I'm playing Watch Dogs 2 at the minute, and it's fucking incredible. So I mean, we'll find out more at E3. They've said in the tweet that it's going to be at E3, and I'll talk about my. I think it's going to get a release date for either the end of this year or the start of next, for sure, because that's usually how Ubisoft do these things. Right, Stadia, we'll blaze through this because
let's just let's Stadia.
Right,
Because honestly, I don't give a shit.
Yeah, okay, right. Stadia, they announced the tech specs that you'll need. 4K 60 FPS, you need 35 megabits per second down. 1080 60, 20 megabits per second down. 720p 60 FPS, 10 megabits per second down. The Stadia controller is going for $70.
Too much.
This far too, well, you say that. I mean, Xbox One controllers and the DualShock 4s are like 50 quid a piece.
Yeah, but they're good.
Yeah. Well, we haven't had this one in hand yet, so we'll see. Stadia Pro is the subscription service, so that will cost you $9.99 a month, and that gets you access to a 4K HDR 60 FPS stream, and you get some games on the service that you have access to, kind of like Netflix. Some is the key word there, so it's kind of like Netflix, where you get new content added like each month. But what they giveth, they can also taketh away with a service like that. There's also the Stadia Founders Edition, which will cost you $130, and that basically gets you immediate access to as soon as it's available, which I think is November. That gets you a Chromecast Ultra, which is 4K 60 FPS HDR streaming compatible. Gets you a limited edition controller, 3 months of the Pro sub plus a buddy pass that you can give to someone else, and the complete edition of Destiny 2 on the Stadia service.
Wow.
There's also a free version of Stadia, which is coming in 2020, which is obviously free, but will limit you to 1080p 60 FPS stream. Okay, the big thing is not all of the games available on Stadia are included in the Pro Pass, which means that you will have to buy them separately on the platform. Same for if you just use the free sub, you will have to buy all of your games individually on the platform, which is where they fucked up. If this was, to me, a subscription service where you've got access to all of the content, I think I will be fine with it. But because you have to buy shit on the platform, it really, really calls into question that whole thing about, do you really own your games if you because this is the thing, they made a big thing about, like, there's no downloads, there's no discs, but you're buying games that are on a cloud. So if you can't download them and you can't physically hold them, do you own that thing? What happens when they want to shut down the service in 10 years?
Do I own anything on Netflix? No. Am I okay with it? Yes.
Yes, but but you're paying a subscription fee, and when you stop paying the subscription fee, you stop having access to it. Whereas this is different.
Believe me, I'm not supporting Stadia with that statement.
Yeah, exactly. But
I'm saying that the fact that they're not only charging you for a console, like they're charging you for the Chromecast Ultra above all of that, and then saying you need to buy a game. Would you having to buy a game that you don't own? That's gonna change. That's fucked. They're not gonna be able to get away with that. There's no way they get away with that. I don't even see where the legal is in that. Where's the legal, like?
It's a very grey area, because I think Google are under like investigation by some authorities at the minute for like something to do with that. I watched the Inside Gaming video about it, and they brought it up, and forgive me, I can't remember the exact details, but they are under. It's a very grey area at the minute that will definitely get defined as we move forward into this new streaming future with xCloud and all that. But yeah, it's definitely a grey area at the minute.
All they need to do is define a rule. They just need to be like, right, if you purchase this, what are the... Do you need... what's the word I'm looking for? what are the circumstances that you need in order to play this thing that you have bought or to use it? You have bought this. Do you need electricity? Yes. Then you own it. You can't buy something and then have that locked to another. Just you can't buy something and then lock that to another piece of money.
Yeah,
Which
exactly.
admittedly, which to be fair, is what online subscription for Xbox Live and PSN have been doing for a while. Because you can buy a multiplayer only game, which you can't play unless you have PS Plus or Xbox Live,
That's true.
which is basically the same thing, which I've hated for a long time. That's bullshit. You know,
I mean, I've not come across that for a while because I've been on PC for about 6 years now.
yeah, but
I get what you mean.
it's still there. It's still and with Nintendo as well. Like if you buy Splatoon, you can't play that shit, or Mario Kart. You can't play that shit online unless you have the Nintendo.
Forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah, the Nintendo thing. So, I think, you see, I think a lot of companies got the idea in their head that as long as they were hustling, and as long as they were like, you know, if we can charge people for this and people will buy it, and it's technically a legitimate transaction, we're fine. Whereas now I feel like in legislation, we're getting more and more, this is misleading to an audience, or this is a bad business practice, and we're not going to let it go through. And those things are actually getting passed more.
Yeah, well, speaking of that, because the main thing I've been thinking about this is like, who is this for? Because I've always, when we first heard about Stadia, I was like, I don't fully see myself using this, but then I was like, well, this isn't for me, is it? This is for people who don't have a console, or people like it's either for early adopters of the future of game streaming, or for people who don't have a console and want an easy entry point into gaming. In fact, they said that in their like early conferences, like this is about access more than anything, about getting people playing games. And this is absolutely obviously the easiest way of doing that. I mean, people who are tight on a budget, who can't afford to shell out 350 quid for a brand new console, you can spend 70, well, I think is it $70 for a Chromecast Ultra, something like that, like much cheaper than a normal console, and then just pay a monthly sub and you get access to all these games, which for some people will be preferable. The way that I saw myself playing on Stadia, and the only way I saw myself using Stadia, definitely wasn't as a primary way of playing games, but certainly as a way of as a companion to playing games. Like if I'm on the train and I want to do
like
my
travel.
Division dailies, yeah, I can just log on and do it then, and having just do it on my phone because I don't need a powerful thing. I just stream it. Oh, sorry, I just punched my desk.
You're just that annoyed. You involuntarily punched your desk.
I do. That I was doing that thing. Where you like, I'm doing it now. Where you like the hand motions to like explain your point, but it's completely pointless because I'm talking into a microphone.
Are you doing the imaginary tits?
Yeah, that's the one. So yeah, I was but I'm like, I mean, I can see myself using the free version of this, but then if I have to buy because they touted that this is going to be crossplay for a lot of things, but if I have to buy Destiny 2 on PC as well as on Stadia, I'm not buying the game twice just in case I want to play it on the bus. So whereas if it was a subscription service, I wouldn't be too against paying a tenner a month for the opportunity to play some things on a bus. I just wouldn't pay it up front, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't really know who this is for.
Well,
still,
honestly, the way I see it, for me, is that I would never use this as long form gaming. I would never want to consume this as a sort of long form thing. I'd never want to do that. Like this would, as you say, this would never be my primary way of consuming games ever. And that I think that's only going to happen in like 20, 30 years, where we kind of get to the point where we can do that. And I think that's going to happen. But as someone who has regularly used different kinds of subscription services in gaming itself, Xbox Game Pass, EA Play, there was another one that I used that I forgot the name of. But to just sort of think, I can pay £5 and I can blitz through the Dead Space trilogy. I can play
Mass Effect.
I can play Mass Effect again. I can play these games. I can play games that I never even thought I would play, but I can just play them because they're right here. You know, I think that's all I can see myself ever using Stadia for. And I think I'd actually quite like to use it like that if it works. If there is a
Yeah.
if I ever see a specific lineup of games on Stadia that I haven't played, and I think, right, I can pay them $10 right now. This is obviously in 2020 once it goes free,
Yeah.
because I don't see myself adopting into the actual big Stadia ecosystem at all. But if I see like a list of games, or maybe a game like Destiny 2 or some sort of ongoing service game, then I can just think, yeah, I'll buy a month of this, play these games so I don't have to buy them all individually, and then move on. And that's
It's kind
all
of
I
like
can.
renting in that sense, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like modern renting, but without having to take it back.
Exactly.
And
So I mean, yeah.
that's what I'd use it for. And I think it's genuinely, to me, it has legs, because I can use me. I can see myself using it as something like that because I have used things like that before. And the fact that I'm streaming the games, that doesn't really mean anything to me. Like, that's kind of, I'm indifferent about that fact. Like, if it works, it works. I'm still playing a game. And I'm not. I had all of the Dead Space games, and now I don't have them anymore. But I'm okay with that.
Exactly. I mean, the amount of games I have on Steam that I've bought and put 2 hours into and then never played again, but I've still bought them. Like, it's ridiculous. I've got 250 games on Steam, and I've probably only played about 40 properly.
Yeah.
So I know what you mean. I think the like what I saw on Twitter, because I didn't watch this live because I was on a train, ironically. But I saw a lot of the fallout on Twitter saying like, "Oh, well, Stadia's fucked it. Then roll on XCloud." I think that was kind of a knee-jerk reaction because I mean, the whole thing to do with like ownership of your games is absolutely, definitely a grey area that should be flagged up. But the
I don't
core
think that's
concept,
gonna last. I don't think they've got a chance.
yeah,
This
that'll
is
get sorted.
this has
But
this has so much. I mentioned this in the last podcast. I distinctly remember it. We talked about Stadia in the last podcast, and I said this is echoing so much Xbox One reveal energy.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is just further proving it. The knee jerk is so real. And even though it's knee jerk, it's not even particularly wrong. I think this is going to be so. This is going to bother people so much because this isn't just only online. This is only online and you don't own shit.
Yeah, exactly.
So that I think a lot more people are ready for only online now that we're 6 years post Xbox One and PS4 launch. Nobody's ready for buying something and then told they can't own it yet. Especially if they're our age. If they've grown up in a society like ours where you buy something and you own it, being told you don't own what you buy anymore, no one's gonna accept that shit. No one wants that.
There's the whole concept of preservation as well. Like, what if games get exclusively released on Stadia, but then they decide to shut down that, like like if they decide to take it away from the service, where can you play that game? You can't. It's not on a server anymore. So that's a whole other ball game. But yeah, I mean, obviously the knee-jerk reaction is there, but again, as you said, this has legs. I do see myself using this for a very specific purpose, and there is an audience of other people that probably would use this for their own purposes.
And because I think what's even more, I don't know if I mentioned this last time, but the fact that I've just said there that this has so much like Xbox One versus PS4 energy is if they've revealed this and xCloud gets revealed tomorrow, I think, and from what I've heard via the leaks, that xCloud is a lot more powerful. I don't know about their pricing or how it works, but if it's at least more powerful, this is Xbox's opportunity to slam dunk. They can go, fuck you, this is the streaming service. This is what you can buy. And because it might not even be good, but if it's better than Stadia, that gets people on board. Because that's how people respond to brands.
Yeah, exactly. I was literally just about to say that I'm not completely on board with the whole like console war thing of Xbox versus Stadia, but if it does sort of
if they're setting a
normalize the
precedent,
streaming culture, yeah.
If they're setting a precedent and Xbox come out on stage and say, look, here's the thing that's interesting though, Josh, because I said, are they going to change anything on time for their conference? And you were like, that's a big if. They have the potential to come out tomorrow and slyly and fully aware say, on xCloud, every game you buy will be yours.
Oh, yeah, that is true.
They can say
edit
that,
scripts.
and they can not even. They don't even need to name drop anything. They just need to hear the cheer and the pog.
That would be a
and
fucking
that's it.
Do you remember when they announced backwards compatibility and the crowd went fucking wild in 2015?
Do you remember on the PS4 when they said all PS4 you'll be able to own all PS4 games and all PS4 games will work offline? And then they go, here's the price of the PS4. It's $150 cheaper, and the crowd goes insane. As does the. That's what Xbox can do tomorrow.
Fuck me! You know, we were saying at the start of this game that I was really tired. E3 has this thing about like not making you tired anymore. I'm fucking pumped now.
Exactly.
Oh, can't wait.
Phil Spencer is just waiting to get out his fucking Gatling gun and just Stadia. He just wants to do it.
I can't fucking wait. By the way, you keep saying tomorrow. This podcast is going out on the Saturday. For us, it's actually 2 days away, the Microsoft conference.
So we're doing a Top Gear.
Yes. We record this on Wednesdays, but it goes out on Sunday.
What was it on Top Gear where James May had to record that one that like he had to record something about a car like twice, and he was like, if it does or if it did come out last year, but it didn't, so it wasn't. I mean,
well, the way it worked on Top Gear was it was most apparent when they had people from Formula One on, because the Formula One races were always broadcast on like I think it was either a Saturday or a Sunday, but they filmed it on a Wednesday, and they were like, "Oh, congratulations on your fantastic win!" But because the show would go out on a Sunday after the race had happened.
I can't believe Schumacher's dead. I can't believe that. Ayrton Senna came back to life and just won it for them.
Yeah, this is exactly a stitch like that.
But regardless, that's what it's like. So yeah, E3 for us is tomorrow. But if this is going out tomorrow, then
E3
today...
for us is in 2 days. E3 for us is in 2 days, but this podcast is going out on the Saturday. So if you're listening to this on the day of release, it's tomorrow. Anyway, that's confusing. Right, we have one more news story that I'm going to fly through because it's Destiny 2 and we've been going for nearly 2 hours now. Okay. Destiny 2 is going free to play in September, so this is following Bungie's break from Activision. Destiny 2 is now self-published by Bungie, and it's coming to Steam in September, along with a brand new expansion called Shadowkeep. It will be free to play, and they're completely revamping the whole sort of like free to play thing and calling it Destiny 2 New Light. So that changes the start of the game to include part of Destiny 1 to make Destiny 2 more of like a standalone package. What they're trying to do, I think, is trying to make it turn. They're fully embracing that this is now an MMO. You know how like World of Warcraft has been like
and Final Fantasy 14 and
and like they're constantly evolving things that are still the same, technically the same game that they were when they released like World of Warcraft is ancient now, but it like when it released 15 years ago, it's still the same game, but not really because it's been updated that many times. The free version will include all of the Year 1 DLC with the Curse of Osiris and Warmind. It will also include all strikes, Crucible maps, and access to all of the destinations, and then all like DLC. I think you can buy like a pass and get like the DLC for like Year 2 and all that sort of stuff. What they're trying to do is they're trying to get people, because they were saying like what we find like the situation at the minute is that a lot of people will not recommend Destiny because the amount of effort you have to put in order to get to the end game is just not worth it. So we're saying like, right, you get
and
all that shit and the money. Yeah, it's like everything's like all gated off by expansions.
I would play Destiny 2 right now if I know I could go from level 1 to get to the end game content, and I would grind that shit so hard over the summer. But I'm not going to do it because it's too much money and it would take me too long.
Yeah, exactly. But so this is all coming for free in September, and then along with this paid DLC expansion that you can get for like I think you can pay for a pass and you get like all the like Year 2 or Year 3 DLC and stuff. Like it works similar to Rainbow Six Siege, I think. They also talked about cross saves. So if you have a character on PlayStation, what's funny actually is that in this, we were talking about like a quick turnaround on quickly changing up like script lines for E3 press conferences. In the video doc that they put out for this, they said like we are introducing. I know this was on Stadia. On Stadia, they said that you will be able to play have cross saves between Stadia and Xbox and all of the platforms for your Destiny 2 character, but there's a small print at the bottom that said PlayStation 4 pending. Apparently, Sony agreed with Bungie that they would allow it the day before the Stadia conference. So that's how quick this shit gets turned around.
Sony was like, okay.
Fair enough, fine, we'll let you do it.
I don't fucking know what you step on it.
Yeah, they fucking are. So yeah, cross save between PS4, Xbox One. I don't think cross progression is a thing, and like cross play in terms of like playing with other people.
What's the difference?
Is a thing.
How can you have cross save without cross progression?
Oh yeah, you make a good point. Yeah, no, sorry, yeah, cross progression is a thing. So yeah, you transfer your character into a thing. Sorry, thanks for pulling me up on that, because I was thinking that cross save is like you port across your character like a one time thing, as some games used to do.
Well, in Final Fantasy 14, I think you could have the same character on PS4 and PC, but you couldn't change regions with it. That was the only difference.
Yeah, and also I think you can't like level them up at the same time. You could level them up. You could like it's like when GTA 5
Oh,
came
you
out.
mean you can't have them logged in at the same time?
No, I mean like when GTA 5 released,
yes,
on next gen, you could port your character from last gen to next gen.
Yeah.
But if you leveled up on next gen, that progress didn't carry over to your last gen character. If you then went back and played on last gen, that's just my brain getting caught up in the way that shit used to work.
To be fair, if you and me played a lot of MMOs, we'd be able to talk more frankly about this, but we don't. So
that's true. I mean, I'm granted not an MMO guy. I tried playing Destiny 2 when it was free on Battle.net, but again, the fact that so much DLC had released at that point and it was all gated off, I was like, I don't feel like I'm getting the full experience here.
It was a decent enough game, though, wasn't it?
It was good, but I've heard very much that although Destiny 2 is sort of its own thing, the expansions from year 1 essentially turned it into Destiny 3, and these new expansions will essentially turn it into Destiny 4.
Well, Destiny 1, The Taken King, was Destiny 2.
Yeah, exactly.
And Destiny 2 is Destiny 3.
I find it very hard to differentiate. So the fact that this is all free will probably encourage, as they say, they're trying to encourage more people to get into it. And if I enjoy all that like end game content that's accessible, I can quite clearly, I can see myself picking up and getting into an MMO for the first time.
The fact that they're having content from Destiny 1 put in, that's crazy. That's so cool.
Yeah, exactly.
That is so cool.
They were saying a lot in like throughout this video doc. There was a lot of times where they were like, "We've been wanting to do this for a while, but we just couldn't." If you know what I mean. And it's obviously because Activision overlords were like,
Activision want them to release it as a box on a shelf.
Yeah, exactly.
And put it out. And we're going to charge this much for the DLC. We're going to do this. You know what? You
have a cool idea. Can you monetize it?
Yeah. It's essentially if Blizzard back in the day, if they were, well, I mean, they were under Activision, but if Blizzard, still are. It's essentially if Blizzard had gone, right, we're going to release World of Warcraft, then World of Warcraft Burning Crusade, then Cataclysm, then we're going to make World of Warcraft 2, release those DLCs, then World of Warcraft 3, rather than just calling it World of Warcraft and releasing each expansion as they went, which is clearly what Bungie wanted to do. Clearly, like now when you go back and listen to how they talk about Destiny 1, how they're like, we want this to be a 10-year franchise, you can tell they wanted to make WoW. They wanted to make an FPS looter shooter WoW, and Activision wouldn't let them.
Well, yeah, clearly, if go and watch that, I highly recommend you watch the video, doc, because you can tell how passionate the dev team are about creating this like vision that they have, and it's genuinely quite uplifting to see that they now have the opportunity to do that. They're self-publishing.
I'm down to pay when this comes out and I get to the end game content. If I get that far, it's very likely that I will be sure to support Bungie in this affair, because the fact that they've gone, I want more studios to be independent, because I mean, publishers are good, of course they are. They can help. It's the same as like sponsorship in films. So people are like, oh, I hate all this product placement. I'm like, it's actually fine. Like, this is helping.
Yeah, publishers are what enable games to get made, and they do. Although of course they have the pressures from above to make it viable. A lot of the time, that keeps developers in check. I mean, if you read a lot about development, video game development, there's a lot of times where developers are very over ambitious. I mean, Star Citizen is a fantastic example of that. A game that is constantly being like just pushed out further and further out just because they want to add like this one extra thing.
They can be...
Whereas if they had a publisher pushing down on them and said, no, you've got to ship this, stop spending money and ship this, then that wouldn't have happened. But
they could be over ambitious, or they can be over what's the term where you're just sort of like just resting on your laurels going, oh, it'll be fine.
I'm not sure the term. I know what you mean.
Yeah, but like, you can have that where they're just like they're taking crowdfunder money and just sort of running away with it and experimenting with it rather than actually just making a product. You know, but
I mean, it's nice to see like roughly like another news story from this month is it's nice to see sort of these I don't want to say like responsible developers have this kind of like the freedom to do shit that they want to do, but doing it responsibly. Because another cool sort of story out of this month was the new Playdate little console thing that's being made by, I think, is it Panic Button?
That sounds right.
Feels wrong. I don't know who who published Firewatch.
Keep talking.
So the people that published Firewatch they've like released or started like development of this like cute little Game Boy-esque like handheld thing that it's really like, go and Google it. Basically, it's called Playdate. And it's like a really cute little Game Boy thing that gets like new games pushed to it every Monday, and it's super indie, super cool. I've been reading about it in Edge, and it looks gorgeous. That is a passion project that is purely a product of a company that is independent and have the financial freedom to do what they want, the financial and creative freedom to do what they want. If they were owned by anyone else, then this thing wouldn't have happened. But yeah, it's a similar situation with Destiny at the minute. They've obviously had this vision that they've wanted to do that's been held back by corporate decisions, and you get a great sense watching this video doc that like they finally feel like they've been set free, and it's genuinely uplifting to watch.
I think we've talked at length about crunch and things like that, and I think crunch a lot of the time can be, I mean, not in Anthem's case, because Anthem was down to the developers themselves, not EA. There was some elements of EA, but it was mainly down to mismanagement. But I feel like a lot of crunch comes from publisher pressure, especially in Activision's case. And I really, really like the concept of more game studios going independent, being able to support themselves, like indie studios. Like Ninja Theory did, which I think is which is why Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice, aside from being a very, very good game, was also, did so commercially well, because people were like, "Oh, Ninja Theory have come away from their publisher, created this amazing game. I want to support them, and I want to support."
It's like a passion project.
Yeah, I want to support Bungie in the same way. It's the same way how, when I bought Team Sonic Racing. I thought I could get this on CD keys, but I love the brand. I'm paying full price. That's why I paid full price. And I would never try and get a cheap key of like a Hat in Time, because I feel like I know those devs. Because I follow them on Twitter, I see how they interact with people, and they're just so funny and genuinely nice. And I'm just like, it's such a good breakout,
On a bit of a side note, I completely agree with you on that, because I think more people need to start sort of connecting with how games are made, because it's such a huge disconnect. Like, the vast majority of people have no idea how a game's made. I don't know how games are made, but it's great to. Well, I've been reading a lot more about it recently. In books and magazines and stuff, and then also watching. There's been like a flurry of documentaries about how games are made, and you get a real sense of like people make games. That's Chris Pratt, and it's like you've got to like, the more you realize that, I think you have a much higher appreciation for what goes into making them, and I think more people need to understand that. Right, we've just hit the 2-hour mark on the news, so I think we should move on to very quickly going through what we've been playing, because then we want to get through E3 shit, because otherwise it's going to be 3 hours long. Okay, we've got 6 games. We've both played 2 of them, and we've played 2 each individually. So do you want to talk about Splitgate Arena Warfare first?
That's actually pretty good. 2 each,
What?
2 individually.
Yeah,
That's pretty good.
We've sorted this well. So Splitgate Arena Warfare is it's an arena, futuristic arena shooter that is essentially Halo with portals.
Well, even the devs say that.
Yeah, they
They couldn't run away from it, could they?
I mean,
like,
I'm quite glad that it doesn't, to be honest, because
like we could meme
Halo.
about and say this isn't Halo, this isn't important. Like we're like, do you like these 2 games? Play this game.
Yeah, exactly.
I respect that.
So this released, they had like a closed beta a while ago that I downloaded and then didn't get around to play. But it released. It's not in early access, is it? It's actually fully released. It's free. It's free to play, but it's out. So we've been playing this over the last sort of couple of weeks. I've only just recently managed to play it on my actual PC. I've been playing on a laptop, so I've not had a proper experience, but I still sort of know how the game works. And basically, it's as it says, like you have. It's Halo with portals. You have weapon. You start with like a normal weapon. You have weapon pickups that you can get around the map, and then you have these sort of blue walls that are laid around each like arena map that you can place portals on. You place like one portal with Q and the other one with E, and it sounds like a gimmick, and to me it was at first, until I realized that though you have to have, once you start getting into like really understanding the 500 IQ plays that you can make with these portals,
it's the full on transcendent brain meme.
Yeah,
of like playing
it's like,
Splitgate. It's like playing Splitgate without portals, playing them like using a portal twice per match, getting 1 portal kill, and then like seeing through the 5th dimension. That's what it's like.
Exactly. Then the only times that I've ever experienced the 5th dimension have been completely like when I placed down a portal, forgot where my other one was, and then popped up behind someone unexpectedly. But I claimed that it was intentional. But I mean, I've put about 10 hours into it, and I think you have something similar. I think I checked the other day. Checked the other day, and it was 9.4.
I have 9.
Okay, there you are then. I was wrong then. Yeah, it's. I think the main thing, the concern that we had was it progression? Because there's not really much of a progression at the minute.
Progression was pretty. I thought progression was pretty good. It's nice to have a level. Just to have a level. It's nice to level up. The packs that you get as free-to-play games often are, you get packs that give you new cosmetic items. There is no paid power.
Mm-hmm. I quite like that, to be honest, because it harks back to a. Well, not necessarily Halo, because Halo didn't used to have packs back in the day. But because it's Halo, the customization is very similar. Like
it's very similar.
It's
broken down into different armor pieces and different styles of armor, and they have different colors associated. The weapon skins are tied to challenges. Fuck yeah.
Yeah. Oh yes, love that shit.
The ranked system, I think, half works.
It needs a little bit of work because
it needs first of all, it needs placement matches, and it needs to work on a bell curve system and not a Dota style. You start at 0 and then rank up. That doesn't work.
Exactly.
People hate that shit.
I logged on the other day and it reset my rank, so I don't know if that's a weekly thing or what. But
if it is, that's stupid, because you're just gonna get permanently unbalanced games. Yeah, that's to be fair. To be fair though, I have to fully say the devs have said that system is being changed.
Yeah,
they have said that. So
it's a free to play game. So I mean, this is like it's constantly. I don't know. I think it's live service.
We're not going to call it a live service. They're saying they're going to update it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not like a live service in the sense that we're going to have the Splitgate expansion. It's on the fucking moon or whatever. Like none of that. Like they're going to add some maps. They'll probably add some maps, add some modes, add some quality of life improvements, constant balancing and things like that. It seems to have what I think is really important for this game, and I hope that it gets. It needs a consistent player base. Because we've experienced some problems of long match times, and that's not down to the servers. That's down to not many people being on them.
I logged on the other day to try and play a couple of rounds while I was just sat in Discord, and I couldn't find a game at all for the free-for-all, that was a peak time as well. So, I mean, it has been getting some coverage from streamers. I saw Dr. Disrespect was playing it.
There was a Twitch Rivals tournament.
Exactly. So which is say it's been getting some good publicity, and I think the player count is constantly rising as far as I know. I've not checked it in a while, but it was on the up last time I checked.
Well, it's very similar to how I like. Do you remember Gigantic?
Yes, I do.
Gigantic was a game that I was extremely sad to see die because I think it was the best MOBA ever created. But then I realized I didn't play it.
Ah, so you're part of the problem.
I played it for 10 hours. No, I played it actually
Okay.
more than that. I played it for like 20 hours, and I thought this is fucking amazing. Like I can't wait to play so much of this. I'm gonna like buy the founders version, and then it was always available for me to play, and I just played something else, and I was like, that just must be what everyone else did.
I think what Lawbreakers, like kind of similar to Lawbreakers. Lawbreakers was
I mean,
quality.
I
and just no one
personally
played
didn't
it.
like Lawbreakers. In fact, in the Splitgate Discord, I was talking to someone who worked on Lawbreakers.
Oh shit.
He was in that. He was like a game developer who's worked on several first person shooters, and he said straight up, Lawbreakers, while it was a game that, you know, had a following that people liked the game, there was still problems with it. You know, like it was suffering from a lot of visual clutter, locky, garmy, right? Lawbreaker was. It wasn't very clear. It was basically a lot of visual and balance problems in Lawbreakers. And if that sort of thing happens, it really is a shame that the game fails. But you can kind of see why it failed. In the case of Gigantic, that's a game that didn't deserve at all to die. At all. And I don't want the same thing to happen to Splitgate. Because this game, as far as I can see, doesn't have any problems that I can attribute to the game itself.
Exactly. I mean, the only complaints I have are minor. The first one was that there wasn't very much weapon feedback, which they fixed in like 3 days, because then they released an update that gave you proper hit markers and hit sounds.
And
which
they feel chunky.
They do feel. It reminds me of like the old CODs. It's proper quality. And the only other thing that I'm still not too much of a fan of is that the movement sometimes feels a little bit floaty. So with like walking, I don't know if it's like a gravity thing, because you have like a jump jet pack that you can use to give you a small boost up to like ledges and stuff, but it's not.
It doesn't feel like
not,
you can ever quite get where you want to go. I don't know.
Exactly.
I don't know if that's because I'm bad, but
I don't think it is. I think the jump pack needs a little bit more oomph without it being full infinite warfare.
maybe more oomph, and it takes less time to recharge, or more time to recharge. Sorry.
I think that'll do it. And also, like, sometimes you've mentioned that walking through portals if you don't get the portal placement perfect, you can get stuck on walls and stuff, which is slightly annoying.
If if the game should be able to do what Portal 2 does, and figure out the player clearly just wants to run through this portal, let them do it. Because that wasn't a
funnel system.
Yeah, that
invisible
wasn't
funnel system.
that wasn't in the first Portal, which is what made it so annoying to speedrun. Because I speedran Portal 1 and 2, and going from 1 to 2 was like a mind blowing thing, because they treat the portals in those games less as holes and more as teleporters. Like you just go, blah, and that's what I want, you know. So
I mean, aside from just like talking about the technical aspect, I find it mad impressive that how seamless it is. Like it doesn't even feel like you're being teleported across the map, because you can shoot through these portals as well, and the bullets travel.
That's something that wasn't in Portal. I mean, technically it was, because turrets could shoot you through portals.
Yeah. But you couldn't shoot portals through portals.
You couldn't shoot the portal through portals. So being able to kind of go onto a point, get behind something, put a portal in front of you, and then one on a wall 90 degrees, and then snipe someone through it is literally the coolest shit ever.
Exactly.
Like,
and the only issue I have with that is that you can see and shoot through your own portals. You can shoot through other people's portals, but you can't see through other people's portals, which annoys me a little bit. I don't know if that's a technical difficulty that they're having, like trying to optimize performance and whatnot.
I think I doubt it's optimization. I think it's I don't know how to like articulate this.
I don't know if it's even like a balancing thing.
It's not balance.
Like, that doesn't make sense to me.
I think it's visual clutter.
Yeah,
I think it would be very confusing on the brain to have multiple portals that were showing the same area of the map in one place. Like, imagine if you were in like the middle area of a map that has loads of portal surfaces, and you could see through all of them. It would be
Yeah,
like being in Doctor Strange.
yeah, I get what you mean. I mean, I'm raising this concern. I
And
highly
to be
doubt
fair, if
that
you are
this
being
isn't something
shot,
that the dev team have like thought about already.
if you are being shot through an enemy portal, you have your grenades.
That's true.
We
Yeah,
don't use
yeah,
our grenades enough.
yeah. If you have a grenade, like, so the grenades don't work like normal grenades. The grenades get rid of portals. They don't do damage. They just get rid of other people's portals.
It has
Which I
been quite
think is,
funny.
yeah,
It's been
it's
quite
really
funny to
cool.
play free for all ranked and have people try and grenade me. That's quite funny.
Yeah, I mean, people are still trying to figure this game out. I mean, some games are weird. Some games we seem to like. Actually, no, that's not fair to say because a lot of the games we've had have been very tight, which has been really, really fun.
Really good, yeah.
And we've had games as well where we've been so far behind, and then we've caught up and had like a ridiculous like comeback win, which again is really, really reminiscent of old Halo games where playing the objective actually makes a difference. So, I mean, I'm having a lot of fun with it. I intend to play more of it, and I'm really excited to watch as this game grows because I'm having a lot of fun. I don't know about you.
We just need to make sure we keep playing it so we don't gigantic
Exactly.
it.
I mean, it's currently, aside from Watch Dogs 2, what I play when I'm in Discord, and just no one else is playing anything. So it's been good fun. A game that we're less positive about, Team Sonic Racing.
Yes.
I'll let you lead on this one. You're the Sonic boy.
I'm the Sonic lad. So Team Sonic Racing released, I think it was 2 weeks ago, something like that.
Something like that.
I was naturally, I wasn't very excited for this game. I mean, as big of a Sonic fan as I am, that's not really possible anymore in my age, to get that excited for a new Sonic game. But this was the previous Sonic racing games, which weren't Sonic racing games. They were Sonic and Sega All Stars.
Yeah.
But they were basically Sonic games. They had Sonic levels and Sonic characters in them. Were very, very good. I played the original on the 360, and I thought it was, good. I think it was slightly above okay. Give it like a 6.5, a 7. Racing Transformed was really good. Like that was a super good game. Like that game's a sleeper. It really is. Like they've got some like the mechanics in that game are really cool. Like how the vehicles transform. You have like flying sections, boat sections, like just car sections, and they all work together. It's really cool.
I mean, that kind of inspired Mario Kart 8, didn't it?
Well, yeah. Like even Mario Kart 8 was like, oh, okay, we have to do this. But even Mario Kart 8 was like, oh, we're just going to give the car a parachute. Whereas in Sonic and Sega All Stars Racing Transformed, the longest game name of all time, like you go from being in Sonic's like car and you go off the ramp and it literally just turns into a fighter jet.
Yeah.
And you're in a full on like jet race section. It was just really good. So I expected.
This is completely different though. Like
yeah, this is very different. When was reading the sort of dev stuff about this game and seeing how the director was talking about it, I was really interested in it because not only does he name drop Mario Kart 8, he says why he thinks that game is so good, but also what he wanted to fix. He wanted to get rid of the sort of bullshit from those games and sort of make it a team experience and get rid of the frustration, essentially, because he saw his kids played Mario Kart a lot, and of course they loved it because it's Mario Kart, but their kids would also get really frustrated because it'd be like, you're behind, why did you win if you're worse? Like, you win if you're worse.
Used a bullet bill and a blue shell and now you're first.
Yeah. And then it was like, well, if we remove that aspect, then you've got kids who are playing who aren't as good as the people online, and they're just coming 12th every game. And of course, they're not having fun either. So where do we find the balance? And the balance was in the team mechanic, where because you have to work together as a team of 3, it removes this aspect of, well, he's come first, and I've come last, and I hate that. It's he's come first and he's come second, and I helped, so I don't care.
Yeah.
And this was great. That's great, and I still fully support that. As for the mechanics in the game, I think the driving model is great. It's not as good as Racing Transformed, but it's great. The levels are great. The soundtrack is honestly why you should buy it.
Yeah, agreed. I've played this as well because we both bought it because we were like Team Sonic Racing, right? It's a team racer where we can work together, have a lot of fun. It's a multiplayer like experience, and the single player is poggers as far as I'm concerned.
Well, that's what I've played most of, and that's what I really enjoyed. I've 100%ed the single player.
Which is saying something because then them fucking challenge levels are ridiculously difficult.
They're ridiculously difficult until you kind of figure out how you can cheese them.
Right. Okay.
Well, is it cheese or is it a strategy?
Oh, it's a strat.
And I really enjoyed the single player. I thought it was good. I'm still really pissed off about how the power characters like Knuckles and Omega are just so unbelievably shite.
Yeah, they come last every single time.
Like the single player is fun, don't get me wrong, but your AI is so incompetent to the point where you need to play in a way that basically if you play that game wanting to come first, you'll lose even if you come first. And that's kind of annoying. You have to play in a way where you sort of hang back and just take out other people and win off ultimate charge and make sure your other two teammates are fine. Which is if that was their creative decision, that's cool. But
yeah, I was going to say that's fair enough, but I think it's difficult transitioning from a game.
It's a bit
like
frustrating.
A common racer.
It's a bit frustrating for me to want to go around the map as fast as I fucking can, and to then lose the challenge because I can't do that. Like there's a challenge on the elimination races where you have to finish. It's like the key challenge. So the way it works is very similar to like a mobile game. You've got like levels, and then you get stars, and then stars unlock the next level.
Yeah.
And then you have to do certain objectives like come first, have your team win, have one of your teammates like come in the top 3 or something like that. And then there's a boss key objective, which is really hard. And for the elimination one, it was make sure none of your teammates are eliminated in the race. And what that means is your teammates have to come first, second, and third. Now, if you've played Team Sonic Racing for anything more than 5 hours, you will know that's borderline impossible unless you cheese. Unless you cheese it and make sure that Knuckles isn't just driving into walls. Because he'll do that. He's a dumbass. Right? And that's where the single player falls apart. The AI is pretty annoying, and if that was the creative decision to make sure that you're working as a team, so when you go into the online element, you start to do that, that's cool. It was frustrating, but if that's why they did it, that's cool.
And then there's the multiplayer.
Then we get to online. Now, I've heard good things about the online from Switch users and PS4 users.
I've also seen good things about the online from the developer play sessions where they have like a full lobby.
Yeah, they do
people that are playing.
Yeah, they do it every week. They do the Sonic channel does a Sonic official thing every week where they look at fan art. They talk about certain things. They'll just kind of riff. They'll play Sonic games. It's fun. It's fun for a fan. And they do full 12-player lobbies, and it looks genuinely fun. And that's what I watched before I bought Team Sonic Racing, because they did a live stream where they were doing these 12-man multiplayer lobbies, and I thought, this looks so sick. I can't wait to play this with Josh and maybe someone else. Like, let's go. We get into online to find that there is no lobby system. There's no lobby system in Team Sonic Racing. So, essentially, every single game is a custom game, similar to how Counter-Strike custom games work. It's all just servers, and you have to make one or join it. So you can't just pick quick play, and it puts you in a server that the devs themselves have made, similar to like in Call of Duty, how you just go team deathmatch, go. You're not going at someone's private lobby. So you have to join a lobby and then invite your friend to that, and it's all custom. And because it's all custom, there's no one there. There's no one in a single lobby in that game.
Yeah.
It's so annoying.
And what the frustrating thing about it is that the whole point of this game is that I mean, it's in the name. It's Team Sonic Racing. It's all about teamwork and having, playing online and playing with other people. but the multiplayer, at least on PC, is just impossible to get in a lobby with the people you want to be. Or like no, you can get in a lobby with people you want to be with, but then you can't find anyone else to play with. It's completely dead.
I was really excited. Well, not only is it dead, but even if it wasn't dead, I watched Lyric. He does something called the Night Stream, where he has two other streamers called Waffle, Giant Waffle, and Shorty Guy, and as a three, they play games together. And I was excited for them to play Team Sonic Racing, because I was like, oh, they're going to be players of three, and they're going to really enjoy this game. They go in, can't figure out how to invite each other, find a quick play game somehow, and they go in expecting to be matched together, and they're all on separate teams. Team.
Yeah, exactly. Me and you had that, didn't we? Oh no, we were on the same team, weren't we? But we
were on the same team by pure luck. But
yeah, exactly.
There were 3 other people in the game, and the other 7 were bots.
Yeah, exactly.
So I was on a team with bots. It's straight up broken. It doesn't work. Why doesn't this work? Go on. No, I was going to say. Well, I was going to introduce exactly what you're about to say, which is that you went on Twitter and said that this should not have been shipped because this is a core feature of the. This is what a core feature of the multiplayer does not work. A core feature of the multiplayer and the game itself doesn't work.
Yeah.
And you can play Team Adventure multiplayer. In fact, I was watching Angry Joe's live stream of this, and you can do Team Adventure local. You can do that with friends local. But
not online.
But not only can you not do it online, but games since, probably before this, but in my earliest memory, Halo 3. You're on the main menu. There's a lobby on the top right. You invite a friend, and then whatever you pick, you go in with them, and they're on your team. Yeah. That was 12 years ago.
Yeah, I genuinely don't know how they managed to mess this. Was this pushed out the door too early? Was this
I think it's
a complete oversight?
I don't think they understood the multiplayer element. I think the multiplayer element worked in Transformed because there was no team element. So if you went in similar to Mario Kart, you can play Mario Kart with friends, and it doesn't matter if you're not on the same team. You just play Mario Kart together. But if you're gonna market this game as a team game, and I want to play it with friends as a team, and I can't do that, I'm sorry, the game shouldn't have been released.
Yeah, exactly. The main reason I bought this game was for multiplayer, and I'm stuck with a decent campaign, but absolutely no multiplayer. So, yeah. and I'm annoyed because, as you said, you bought it on Steam and paid full price. I bought it on CD Key, so I didn't pay
full price. I paid £35.
I still thought full price.
Yeah, but it wasn't like a full retail game.
Yeah,
and you know what? I am all for supporting a dev. They made a good product. It wasn't lazy.
Yeah, no, I agreed. It's a fantastic game. I'm annoyed at myself because I shouldn't have bought it on CD keys. But although, to be fair, I think I put about 5 hours into it. So I'm annoyed that the reason that I bought it is not the reason why I want to keep playing it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm not too fussed because.
To be fair, that was what you said about Black Ops 4. We bought Black Ops 4 for Blackout. We haven't played it once. Well, we've played it, but we didn't play it since release.
Well, no, I bought it for zombies more than anything, and then I ended up playing the multiplayer for 100 hours. So, I can't get annoyed at it. I mean, this is slightly different because I'm definitely not going to get 100 hours out of the single player. But again, I can't. It's like I can't stay mad at it because it is genuinely quite good.
It's genuinely quite good, and let's be honest, it's a lot better than Sonic's done in a while.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, if you compare it against the standard of Sonic, isn't high. So
yeah, but he's not. To be fair, he's not even on his feet.
That's true.
Right. Okay. One final thing about that game: every single fucker who's ever said, "Why is Sonic in a car?" You're an idiot.
Yeah, agreed.
That's like Lewis Hamilton turning up to a 100-meter sprint in his F1 car, and no one having a problem with it. I don't understand why people are saying, "Why is Sonic in a car? He can run fast." Oh yeah, fuck it, ship it. Everyone else is in a car and Sonic runs. Sonic comes first every game. Go on, okay, ship it. Stupid fucking idiots. Sorry, I've just seen that so much. I don't understand why so many people say it.
It's a game about a talking hedgehog. Can you not suspend your disbelief for a car? Come on. All right, you've been playing Dauntless.
Yes. Do you have any idea about Dauntless?
You told me it was free to play Monster Hunter, and that's all I know.
And that I imagine once I said that, that's what made you not interested.
That's what made me yawn and go to sleep. Yeah.
Yeah. So essentially, I'm new to monster hunting games. I don't know if there's any monster hunting games aside from Monster Hunter itself and Dauntless. But don't I played Monster Hunter World um last year and was pleasantly surprised at how crack cocaine that game is. It's genuinely really really fun. And I'm looking forward to the DLC. And I didn't want to play the original again because I kind of done everything I wanted to do in that game. I'd hunted all the monsters. There was nothing really left to see. But I was wanting some more monster hunting stuff, and I wanted something to grind. This was between me going back to Warframe or starting this. And I thought, you know what? I've played Warframe. It's good to experiment. Let's try this. I'm addicted to this game. This game is fucking awesome. It takes traditional Monster Hunter style mechanics where you, either solo or with a group of other hunters, go onto a map. You have to track a monster, kill it within a certain time frame, and if you go down too much, the danger level rises and you have to escape. The weapons in the game, while not as varied as Monster Hunter World, there's a good selection. There's 6. I think it's sword, hammer, daggers, axe, spear, and guns. And I was expecting these to kind of play sort of pretty simply, but they're actually really deep weapons. And the monsters in this game are super, super fun to fight. They've got some really cool mechanics that I think actually do better than Monster Hunter World. Because in Monster Hunter World, it feels like even though the monsters are really damn cool when you're fighting them, like they are just sort of hulking beasts, and there's little to differentiate a few of them. Like some of them are the ones that like spurt fire, and like Xeno'jiva who has like lasers and shit. But in this game, every single fight is so unique and so drawn out and so tense with like proper mechanics. Like it's such a good team based game. There was this one monster I fought for the first time recently, and I think it's called it begins with a K, but it's essentially like this giant wasp.
Right.
And
That's already sounds terrifying.
it's actually the art style of the game is really nice, and this is a pretty scary. It is a kind of a scary boss. But it's like a giant wasp with these sort of like scythe hands, and it has an attack where it sort of burrows into the ground and it releases like this swarm of insects, and they attach to all the players on the map. And the only way you can get rid of them is by like attacking each other. You have to like bat them off each other. And then there's another monster like called the Stormclaw, who plants spikes in the ground, who will section off 2 of your hunters so they can't fight the monster. And the other 2 hunters have to break the spike so they can break out and come and help.
That's pretty cool. That
It's
reminds me of
It's like evolved a little bit.
Yeah, it's like there's a quintessential like gameplay mechanic where you play. I'm specifically thinking of like, do you remember in the old Lego games where you like the gameplay mechanic which you could switch between 2 characters?
Yeah.
And one of the gameplay mechanics was like the Emperor will electrocute Darth Vader, which means that you have to switch to Luke Skywalker so you can hit the Emperor to stop him from electrocuting Darth Vader.
There's genuinely really cool shit in this game that, even though, I mean, obviously everyone has limited time and you might not be interested in this game, but I genuinely think if you did play it, you'd be really surprised at how fun the 4-man hunts can be, especially on the really hard monsters. Because you have like one guy, like all the weapons do different things. So the hammer wielders, basically it's a hammer and a gun, because why not?
Yeah,
and
why not?
you can plant the hammer in the ground and use one of the shells it has to burst into the air, and then you can like smack the monster with it. So basically the hammer user's job is to just stagger the monster as much as possible to like keep stunning it. The spear users wound it, so if the monster ever tries to move erratically, it'll take damage. The sword users are about just sort of like raw DPS and things like that. The gun users are really cool. essentially there's just a bunch of really cool mechanics, and each monster genuinely feels different because Monster Hunter, while it's still a very fantasy game, still kind of stays within its own little box. But because this game is a bit more fantasy and cartoonish, they can go wild with the monsters. Like they can just do really crazy stuff. Like there's this turtle monster that like has 6 flame jets that come out of it, and you have to like move around it, attacking at the same time, or you get set on fire. Like it's basically just I don't know how many monsters there are in the game, but just imagine 20 really, really cool boss fights that you have to go on with 3 other people and communicate and take down properly. And that's Dauntless. And I think it's fucking great.
Fair. That's a glowing review. So I think I might give this a go. I have a lot of shit on my plate right now, but if you say that it's my thing, I'm well up for giving it a go, even if it's just for like
if you liked
one or
if
two
you liked
games.
fighting the big monsters in Witcher 3, you're gonna like this game.
Fair enough. Right, I'm gonna give this a download, and then I will play like the first 2 boss fights or whatever with you, and see how that goes, because you've turned me from yawning on Monster. I mean, I don't yawn on Monster. I appreciate people like it.
To be fair though, I was the same. Like before Monster Hunter World, if someone said I'm gonna play Monster Hunter, I'd go, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like, but that's kind of just been my gaming recently, is sinking my teeth into a genre and going, oh, this is actually cool as fuck. You know? And it actually moves on to the next thing, which I won't talk about a lot. But ages ago, Starcraft 2 became free on Battle.net. You can play the single player for free. It doesn't have the expansions to the single player, but I think you can play all the multiplayer, and you can play the entire single player campaign standalone for free. And I thought, right, I'll try it. I've heard this is the full, like, you need to have an IQ of 6 billion to play. And people just said it was genuinely really fun. And I thought, right, these people are going to be these people who have 6 billion IQ, who just love crushing noobs. And I thought, right, I'll play the campaign and see if it can teach me the game. And actually, I came to realize that the skill of StarCraft essentially just comes to doing things really fast. The game isn't complicated. The game is so much fun. It's genuinely fun. Like, just controlling units and doing things efficiently. I think there's going to be a resurgence in RTS, especially with the release of Warcraft 3. I think that's going to come later this year. They'll probably announce the release date, or it'll probably come out around BlizzCon.
Speaking of, sorry to take you off, but you're saying there's going to be like a resurgence of RTS. Is Age of Empires 3 the one that's already out, or is that getting a remaster,
That's
or am I
out.
just talking bollocks? Because I swear that there's like a...
Age of Empires 3 is out.
Isn't there a new Age of Empires game that got announced?
I think there was. I think you're right.
remember-
I don't think it was 3, because people
I
didn't
think
really
it
like
was
3.
on. I think it was on Microsoft's stage at E3 last
Yes,
year.
it was. I think it was Age of Empire... Was it Age of Empires 4? Age of Empires.
I've only maybe it's
4.
just because I'm in the E3 mood.
No, it was. It was Age of Empires 4 official reveal trailer 2017.
Yeah, there we are. Then
It's got
I knew I'm not
10
talking
million
mad bollocks.
views.
Why is it? This is the shit about E. You know, you were saying earlier about like you watch the E3 conference and then forget like the specifics. I watched the E3 press conference last year, saw Age of Empires 4, and I'm only just remembered that it existed 2 days before the next
I'm only
E3
just
conference.
remembering that I was excited for it.
Yeah, exactly.
I played Age of Empires 3 and thought it was awesome.
I mean, I going off what you were saying, like sinking your teeth into like one genre and realizing you love it. I always tell myself that I don't like RTS, but I think what I don't really like is the 4X genre of like turn-based shit.
You know what your problem is? You've played Civ.
Yeah, like I don't like. That's what I mean. I don't
People need
mind
to stop
Civ.
trying to sell you on Civ.
Yeah,
I am here
mean,
now to tell you it's okay to not like Civ, because Civ isn't the king of that genre. Not even close.
I mean, did you ever play? Did you ever have a DS? You did have a DS.
I did,
didn't you?
yeah.
Did you ever play Lego Battles?
I didn't, but I played Civilization Revolution, which I imagine would be quite similar.
No, it's not the same. It was basically Lego Starcraft.
Yeah. Oh,
Um,
that sounds fucking awesome, actually. Wait,
and it was great. On,
that sounds pog. What?
it was great. It was great on the DS because you had two screens as well, so you could like see the map and all your data and shit, and like character info on the top screen. Then you could like select units with the DS stylus and like click where you wanted them to
What? That
go.
sounds so pog. I'm just imagining like
I loved it, and
having a
that's what I
bunch
mean.
of
Like,
Lego units, and you can like choose to like build a barracks or buildings, and then like
yeah,
build them up in bricks.
it's exactly what it
Was
was
that what it
like.
was like? Right,
And
by the
yeah,
DS. Right.
and that's what I
Honestly,
mean.
though,
Like, I
yeah.
tell myself that I don't like the RTS genre because of the stuff that I've played recently, and then I think, shit, I played I played the fuck out of Lego Battles when I was a kid, and I loved it. So maybe I'm just playing the wrong RTS games.
I don't think you've probably played that many to start with. And to be honest, the problem with RTS is that much like the arena shooter, it's much like the arena shooter and the MOBA genre. It's so steeped in sort of pro play and sweatiness that
Mm,
most players just think that's not my area. Like I
mm.
don't belong here, you know? And I think
Yeah,
that's definitely
exactly.
a thing with RTS. I thought that about RTS like definitely before I started trying it. I thought I don't belong here. Like I don't feel like the number one genre for that I feel like permeates through all of gaming is fighting games.
Yeah, exactly.
Basically,
Yeah,
the vast majority of gamers feel like fighting games are over there. Fighting games don't want me to be there.
I'm exactly the
And
same
that's
with
how I feel
MOBAs.
about them. And I've played a few of them. I don't feel like
Mm.
a fighting game respects my time or wants me to be there.
Yeah, it's for a very specific player that game.
Yeah, but I mean, I
Excuse
played
me.
StarCraft 2 and I was like, this is just a fun, like, this is a fun RTS puzzle style, just cool game. And I feel like I'm playing an RTS. I feel like I'm getting the experience without having to have 250 APM a minute, you know?
Yeah, I feel really bad because you've taken two games that I had no interest in, and you've never sold me on both of them, and I'm now going to talk about two games that I one of you you're already sold on, and one of them I don't even want to sell you on. So I've been playing Battlefield 5 a little bit over the last few days because they announced. So the main issue with Battlefield's live service at the minute is that there's just no fucking content. Like the whole purpose of the live service is to just keep you engaged long enough for them to make new shit. And well, the only like new shit that they bring is basically fixing the base game shit that should have been there to begin with. Um,
Content.
content, but
Spanner content.
they released a new trailer for like the next 3 months of live service content. We're getting like 6 new maps, one of which is an Operation Metro remake. We're getting shitloads of new weapons, and it genuinely feels like the content that we're like the game needs. I've also started playing because Battlefield 5 I feel like is far more complicated than it needs to be, like in terms of progression, because
Is it
the way that
complicated or is it really simple told in a complex way?
it's really simple told in a complex way, and
Did
I just
Hideo Kojima design the progression system in Battlefield
pretty
5?
much. So you have there's weekly challenges that you can only complete within a certain week. Um, and what if you complete all? Well, you don't have to complete all of the challenges. You have to complete like a see. They're in like an order, and you complete. It's like different paths you can take, kind of like a
I've seen
skill
it.
tree.
I've
It's
seen how
yeah.
it looks.
And the main problem I had a few months ago, and I still have that same problem, is that those challenges are completely arbitrary, and it's just get 3 kills or assist, revive 3 people, and it's just pointless shit that you don't really have to think about. Um, and then if you complete all those challenges, you get the weapon. But if you don't complete that challenge, if you don't complete all those challenges to get the weapon in that week, the weapon just seemed to disappear, and I had no idea how you would unlock it. And it turns out there wasn't a way to unlock those weapons until about 3 months after release. So they then introduced Company Coin, which is a new. So you've got battle coins. I think they're called boins.
Boins.
They're called boins. I call them
Boins.
B-bucks.
B
But
Bucks is great. Boins just sounds like something your granddad has.
yeah, so that's like one type of currency that you have, and then you've also got company. I think Boins is the premium currency that you buy with real money. Company coin is what you earn, and I'm not quite sure how you earn the company coin, whether it's through ranking up or whatever. You just sort of get it. I don't know. This is what I mean. Like I don't completely understand how it works, and that's what frustrates me. But it turns out that you can now, as of like a few months ago, buy the weapons that you missed with company coin. So I'm starting to get into it now because I've basically unlocked the rest of the arsenal that I was missing out on. And those weapons do genuinely feel unique, and it's adding a bit of a fresh take on it. They also released the new Mercury map like the other week, which is set in Greece, which is genuinely quite a lot of fun. That's also my issue with Battlefield at the minute, is that they seem to have forgotten what good map design is, because all of them in Battlefield 1, well, not all of them, but the vast majority of them in Battlefield 1, Battlefield 5, the map design has just been so horrendous. It's like, why am I playing this? It's just a meat grinder. I also don't like that the live service takes away game modes from me. It's like, I've paid for this game, and I paid for it. When I paid for it, it had domination in it. Why doesn't it have it anymore? Oh, because you're trying to...
Are you trying to tell me that Battlefield 5... This isn't me like being facetious. I genuinely am asking. Battlefield 5, a 2019 released World War II shooter made by a AAA studio, doesn't have domination that you can play at any time.
Domination might be the one consistent one, but stuff like Squad Conquest, which was arguably one of the best, because it really the vehicle gameplay in Battlefield 5. Yeah, but the vehicle gameplay in Battlefield 5 is pretty trash.
You're basically one step ahead of Tag, where Tag being the streamers Two Angry Gamers who play Battlefield 5 a lot, where they're like, every time a new Squad Conquest stuff gets announced or a new infantry focused map, they're like, oh yeah, just fuck the vehicles, it's fine. Like, they're really annoyed by it. Whereas you're like, well, I've gone out the other side where I'm like, well, if the vehicles are fucked, then at least they can focus on the infantry.
Yeah, like, I genuinely enjoy the infantry gameplay. That's not to say that I've because I enjoyed the tank gameplay and the helicopter and plane gameplay in 3 and 4. But yeah, that's what I mean. Like, the tanks and the planes aren't going to get improved anytime soon. So just fuck them. Just give me some infantry shit so I can actually enjoy that part of the game. But yeah, stuff like Squad Conquest, which is arguably one of the best modes in the game, constantly gets removed and put in on a live service sort of basis. And I know what it's for. It's to try and say oh, that's available in this game now, that's why I need to play Battlefield 5 today. But that just feels like it's exploiting me, and I don't like that in the game. I've already paid 60 quid for.
It's forced player retention, that's all it is.
Yeah, that's what frustrates me.
It's so they can take a screenshot of the amount of people playing the game at a specific time and then show it to shareholders and go, this is the amount of people still playing our game regardless of what you heard.
Yeah.
Forget exactly what you heard, it's what you hear. As I was like,
yeah, so I mean, I've been jumping in a little bit because of this new content that's coming again, and a lot of these maps seem to be infantry focused, which I'm well looking forward to. Now I've finally sort of gotten to grips with the progression systems, and I'm starting to enjoy it a bit more. I'm still, I don't completely agree with I agree with the setting, but I don't. It's not for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The World War II. It's I would much prefer a modern warfare shooter, much like the new Call of Duty. And Battlefield 4, Battlefield 3, Battlefield Hardline are my favourite Battlefields, so go figure. But yeah, I'm enjoying it. I wouldn't recommend it, but I'm sort of just playing it to satiate my Battlefield need, because I claim to be a die-hard Battlefield fan, but I've hated the last 2 installments. So, you know. And I've already mentioned the other game that I've been playing, Watch Dogs 2. I've already sort of said my piece about it. I think I really enjoy its sort of tonally aware setting. It has something to say about the setting that it's in, and it's genuinely a lot of fun. It's funny to go back to sort of a sandbox game that lets you do so much shit.
It's a playground.
It is genuinely a playground, and you can do so much stuff with the hacking. And you get skill points. You get the amount of skill points that you get awarded for. I've only put 4 hours in. I've had 23 skill points awarded to me.
There's a stealth. I don't know if you've done it yet. It's like a stealth mission in a movie studio.
Yes, I've done that. Yeah, that was genuinely a lot of fun.
I did it all from outside because I had to get my drone inside, but I had to get it on a balcony, and my drone didn't jump. It was the RC drone. I didn't have the flying one yet, and I think that gets seen by guards as well.
Yeah.
So I had the RC drone, and I thought that can't get up there. And then I saw a forklift. So I put the RC thing on the forklift, which had a pallet on it, hacked the forklift, made the forklift rise up, and then jumped the RC car into the building. And then I was like, 10 out of 10.
Yeah, exactly. There's so much, it rewards creativity so much, and it's genuinely refreshing to go back and play a game like that. And that's what I mean, because Watch Dogs 1 wasn't particularly. It was a little bit like that, but it didn't go like full balls to the walls with it.
You could get by any situation with just enough shooting.
Yeah, pretty much. And to be fair, the tone of Watch Dogs 1 completely catered to that. But Watch Dogs 2, although you are given guns and you can 3D print guns, it's very much about going the non-lethal way, I think. It's the tone doesn't completely match if you play it in an aggressive, violent way.
Yeah.
But again, as I've already said, the tone and approach of Watch Dogs 2, if they do a similar thing where they sort of tweak it in Watch Dogs 3 and make it, just as tonally aware for a different situation, well up for it. Very excited for Watch Dogs 3.
When you play as Aiden, they're like, in the first one, they're like trying to build him up as this sort of badass in like a trench coat, and he has this like ability to just use his phone to do anything, and that's cool. I like that concept because I like characters like that. That's why I like Joker from Persona 5. He's the character who no one sees, but he's influencing you more than you realize.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But I just love being Marcus. It's Marcus, right?
Yeah, Marcus.
Marcus in Watch Dogs 2, and him just sneaking around areas with his phone out. He hasn't got a gun out. He's just sneaking around guards and like hacking stuff with his phone out, with like his mask up, with his yo-yo, and it's just
with his headphones in.
With his headphones in, listening to music. I love how the in-game soundtrack, like in the opening mission, he puts his earphones in, and that's the soundtrack.
Yeah, exactly.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and there's a lot of like, obviously like mirror, kind of like GTA, like it mirrors popular brand. So because it's set in San Francisco, which the only complaint I would have is that a couple complaints I have. The world is very empty. Not in terms of content, but in terms of street traffic and pedestrians, it just feels very dead. Like half, like actually no. Do you know what? From now on, this San Francisco is canonically after the Thanos snap.
Yeah,
because it feels like half the population's missing. And the other complaint that I have,
technical limitation, though, isn't it?
Yeah, probably. Well, you say that, but you look at the crowds in AC Unity, and they weren't a problem.
Yeah, but AC Unity didn't let you take control of anything, and AC Unity was like a place to walk around, whereas Watch Dogs 2 is like a toy box.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a minor complaint. It's just something that bugs me a little bit.
Yeah, I get
and the other thing is that it constantly tries to shove online shit down my throat. Like I keep getting every time that like I get chased by the police, I then get also chased by a real person who actually tries to shoot me and kill me.
The online shit, to be fair, the optional online shit you can do in that game is fun as hell. I don't know if you can. Yeah, I don't know if you can still do it because it would need like a bigger player base.
You can, because I keep looking at my mission list, and it keeps saying that like I have 3 missions that are all online operations. I'm like, I don't want to do the online shit. I just want to do the offline shit. I'll tell you about a mode
that's really cool, and it'll sell you on online.
Okay.
There's a mode where you can invade another player's world, and they have to accept it. Like this, you have to.
You don't get an option.
Yeah, like you have to say, do you want to enable online, and this will happen intermittently. But you can invade someone else's world, and essentially what will happen is a ring will open on the minimap, and in their world they'll look like Marcus, but in your world they look like a random NPC. And essentially what they have to do is blend in as much as they can in that ring.
That harkens back to like old Assassin's Creed games.
Yeah. So like the ring gets smaller and smaller, and they have to basically stay alive to make the hack work and then escape from you.
That was in Watch Dogs 1. I do remember that. That was in Watch Dogs 1, and I enjoyed that mode a lot. But yeah, no, the only to be fair, I haven't tried the online stuff, so I can't fully say whether I like it or not. But I keep looking at my mission list, and I'm like, oh, I've got 3 online operations that are 1 to 4 players. I'm like, I don't want to do that shit. I just want to play a single player game. Like this is my chill time. I don't want to be like faffing on with other people, being absolute nonsense, especially when I'm playing it in such a stealth manner. It's like I can't trust other people.
Yeah, because they just run in with guns, don't they?
Yeah, if I was playing it with someone else and actually had like communication and mics and shit, that would be a lot of fun, I think. But I don't know. You can probably disable it, but I feel like it gets shoved down your throat so much that. And to be fair, it's very meta. Like that is the whole point of Watch Dogs 2. Like that everything's interconnected, and
I mean, even Wrench says that.
That's exactly. Meta. Yeah, exactly. So I'm having a lot of fun with it, and I'm hoping to finish it, obviously, before Watch Dogs 3 comes out. Speaking of which, 2 hours and 50 minutes into the PrE-3 show, I want to talk about E3. Okay, right. We're going to go through each of the press conferences one by one and talk about what we think is going to get announced and what we would like to get announced, and then we'll compare it in next week's show and see how right we were. Do you want to go first with EA?
Yes. Let's have a look, shall we, at EA? Well,
I mean EA is not difficult to predict.
We can't predict anything.
Well, we can't predict anything because they've already told us what they're showing. So EA are doing something different this year. Instead of having like a stage presence, they just have sort of dedicated live streams for each game. And the only ones that I've written down are Jedi Fallen Order, followed by Apex Legends, followed by Battlefield 5, and then I think there's some FIFA shit after that. A notable absence is Anthem. Anthem's not on there at all. So I don't know if they're just sort of... I mean, because that... Well, the whole Cataclysm thing was meant to be like their big like world event that was supposed to be happening in March. Then that got delayed, and we've not heard anything about it since. And the fact that
it's probably been delayed indefinitely. Let's be honest.
More than likely. I mean, I don't know official Anthem player counts, but I bet it's not much. So I think they've probably taken a look at the player count and thought, we are investing a hell of a lot of resources for not very many people. So I don't really know how that... I don't think Anthem's going to have much of a stage presence there. Very excited for... go on.
Yeah, Anthem's gone.
Yeah, it's ruined. Jedi Fallen Order gameplay, I think, is what we're expecting. We already have a release date, and it's the end of this year. So
we sort of know how it will play, but I'm excited to see the lightsaber combat.
Yeah,
or just combat in general.
Yeah, exactly. So looking forward to the gameplay of that. Apex Legends Season 2, we reckon? Because I think first season's nearly at an end. Season 2.
It was teased a while ago that there's going to be a major addition to Apex Legends that's basically going to change the game in a big way. And that sounds like it would be even beyond a new map. I am thinking new map. Because
new map will be good.
If you think about the map in Apex Legends, it's not that complex.
It's not that big, and it's a named map. You know, like Erangel for PUBG. Yeah, so like clearly they're thinking of new
King's
maps.
Canyon.
Yeah.
So that'll be cool. That'll make me want to go back to Apex. They did actually tease a new champion on their Twitter. It's like some sort of Emperor Palpatine lad.
There's a whole like event going on at the minute that I don't really understand. It's like double XP, and there's like they have like a new queue system thing going on.
The new queue system is actually very good.
It's a limited time thing though.
Is it? What's the point in that then?
Exactly, that's what I mean.
I thought that was going to fix my main problem with the game, which is sweat.
Apex, as far as I know, it's a limited time thing, and that they are like they said it could come back again, but as far as I know, it's a limited time thing for the moment.
The thing with Apex is that people are like, "What's the sweatiest battle royale game?" Fortnite, and I can see why they say that, but I don't agree because at least children still play Fortnite. No, like barely any kids are playing Apex. The only people who are playing it are the like 25-year-old people with their hood up who are like the ultimate sweats who literally haven't stopped playing it since it came out. It's that game's impenetrable now.
So yeah,
I'm looking at my list of what else they have to reveal, and it's fuck all.
I mean, there's a whole Battlefield 5 segment which they'll probably show gameplay of those new maps that they talked about the other day. But yeah, EA is not really any big surprises unless they have some sort of like super secret but that's not all thing at the end. But I mean,
that's not all.
They're dedicating half an hour each to every individual game, so this thing's going to go on for like 4 hours. So I'm not watching all that, man.
I mean, you say that, but they've put FIFA, NFL, and Sims last.
Yeah, well,
which is excellent.
It's excellent, but then when you have to consider that I have to report on this,
do you though?
I do.
Can't you just put don't give a shit?
I couldn't. I think I'll just read the summaries afterwards, or just I'll wait till it's done and then watch it all at times 2 speed.
What do you really need to watch, Josh? You can read the summary of
That's
FIFA.
True.
Just find an article someone wrote about FIFA 18 and copy the words over.
I like how you say FIFA 18 as if it's not going to be FIFA 20 or any different from FIFA 20.
That's what I mean. Just copy it. Yeah. Just copy paste.
New grass there's a new grass texture. It's we've actually got
And
grass
yet
physics now.
we
Frostbite.
we were disappointed by by Team Sonic Racing a little bit. The crowds in that game look better than FIFA's does.
True.
Not
It's
even
true.
joking.
So yeah, no real surprises. If I were to see a surprise, I would like to see a Plants vs Zombies Garden Warfare 3 because that shit is underrated, and I don't
It
care
is,
who
like,
tells me otherwise.
That shit's pretty good.
That sh- yeah, Garden Warfare 2 was fucking poggers, and don't you dare tell me any different. And Dragon Age 4, I don't think it's going to get a mention. It was like mentioned last year, but no way gameplay.
Last year was the year of the PNG.
yeah. Here's a game that we're working. Actually, no, it wasn't even a PNG in some cases because Star Wars got a fucking comment from the audience.
Oh, so, that's even worse.
Yeah.
Hello, man.
Hello, man. Are you working on a Star Wars game? Yes. Can you talk about it? No. What's it called? Fallen Order. Moving on. Okay.
All right. I went early, Rog. I went early.
Fuck's sake.
We're watching that later.
Oh dear me, that's going to be the come down from this fucking podcast.
Yeah.
Okay, right. Let's move on to Microsoft because they actually have shit that they feature. So
We
on my list,
we talked about xCloud, so we can not talk about that.
are you right? We have separate notes for our E3
Okay,
predictions.
I'll say my list
Okay.
of what I genuinely think is interesting. xCloud, we talked about that.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see what happens. I think they're going to do a slam dunk. They have the opportunity. They'd be mad not to take it.
Uh-huh.
Halo Master Chief Collection, they're going to release pricing. They're going to release extra info about that. They're basically just going to give us an info dump about that. There's nothing they can really reveal because the games already exist. They can't really show new content, except for maybe how the seasons work. Yeah. Halo Infinite is almost certainly going to get a gameplay reveal.
If it doesn't, I will be very, very surprised.
I'll be very surprised if it doesn't, but almost to the point where it's impossible that it doesn't.
Yeah,
it's going to get a gameplay reveal, and I'm interested to see how this game plays because it's essentially a soft reboot.
Yeah,
a very soft reboot to the Halo franchise. I don't care about the story in Halo anymore, so if this one does its best to distance itself from that and maybe go in a different direction, that'll be fantastic. Gears, I don't really care about Gears. I know people do care about Gears. I want to see more about that turn-based Gears that they showed last year. Remember that?
That'd be cool.
Yeah, because that game actually looked pretty good. And then the problem with Microsoft is because Sony aren't doing anything this year, every game company under the sun wants to throw money at them, or they want to throw money at any game company to just say, we can show your game.
That's what I mean. Like, Microsoft's
we literally
such a
can't
wild
predict.
card.
Yeah, we can't predict anything.
The only thing that I've got on my list that isn't on yours is next gen hardware release. Oh, next gen hardware showcase. I think they're going to talk about it and then say 2020 release window.
I think they showed the Scorpio last year, which was the X. They released that.
That wasn't last year. That was a few years ago. Now, they showed that at like 2016 and then released it 2017. I think.
Was it? But
it was longer ago than you think.
I think what's going to happen is xCloud's going to be their focus because if they talk about hardware for too long, I'm not going to like that.
See, this is the thing. I think xCloud and next gen are very much interlinked because there's been this talk of like them releasing two consoles, like the ultra powerful one and then the streaming one. So I think that xCloud and next gen hardware will have a very close link.
Would it not be strange though to not unveil the Xbox console at the same time as Sony unveil the PS5?
I guess unless they
unveil the new Xbox, then Sony has every opportunity to sort their marketing around the specification of the new Xbox.
I guess so. I was going to say unless they want to just get in there first, but they did that last time, and that's how Sony capitalized then. I mean, the only way that I can see it happening is that they talk about xCloud, they talk about the streaming the streaming only console, and then say this is for this certain audience, for you. I don't want to say hardcore gamers, but for like you primary audience, this is what we have for you. Not going to talk like loads and loads about it, but literally just like a that trailer they showed where they talk about fucking teraflops and how these pixels are sharper than any pixels you've ever seen.
That makes me terafloppy.
Yeah, and then just say like 2020 release window. I think that's what's going to happen. I don't think they can go the C3 without talking about some sort of hardware.
I think they're going to do. I think they'll do what they did with the X, where they just kind of say, "Here's it, sort of silhouetted next year." Bye.
Yeah,
I think that's
exactly. Yeah, and the only other thing I have, which of this could be, I think I can only see this at this conference, is the Harry Potter RPG from Warner Brothers.
That's the only place it could be at.
I mean, it wouldn't be at the PC gaming show because it's console focused as well, and yeah, that's literally the only place I can see it, unless they. No, because it's Warner
nice,
Brothers, so
isn't
they
it?
won't be at Square Enix.
It's a bit disappointing.
That's what I mean.
Not having Sony, but it's quite nice just having Microsoft, because Microsoft could potentially last 3 hours now, and just
I know,
be
that's what I
fucking
mean.
anything.
This is I feel like Microsoft's press conference is the end game of press conferences, because I'm
Which is
going
annoying,
into
'cause
it
it's first.
Yeah, I know. It's like I'm going into it and I'm like, I genuinely have not got, like when you get 15 minutes into Endgame, then it gets to that bit and you're like, well, I genuinely don't know what the fuck this movie's going to do now.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. What else do we have?
Okay, now what?
Basically, Microsoft's conference is going to be like a really nice, juicy steak, and then we can just pick the cheese board of the conferences to cheese about later.
Exactly.
If you don't mind, I want to go through like each list, because I think I've managed to condense them quite
go on.
quite well. So for Bethesda, we've got Doom Eternal. That's already being revealed, but they're gonna they say see you at E3, so they're gonna show something. I'm interested to see what they're gonna show multiplayer wise. They might show actual Invasion gameplay, like they teased Invasion gameplay. I want to see how Invasion plays. I'm also interested to see if they have an actual multiplayer mode like they did in the previous one. The previous multiplayer mode didn't really work very well, but now that id have Quake Champions under their belt, we never know. They might have improved a lot.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I'm not too worried about the Doom multiplayer because
I mean, it's not why we're there, is it?
Exactly. Like I'm there for the single player, and if the multiplayer is good, it's a nice addition. So
Doom Eternal
whatever.
is one of the games I'm most excited for this year. In fact,
Me too.
It's all I can think about. It's probably the game I'm most excited for this year. Without off the top of my head,
I have 2 games on my Bethesda list, and it's Doom Eternal and Starfield. I couldn't like either the rest of the shit that's going to be at Bethesda. I don't know about yet, or it's irrelevant.
I have So I've got Doom Eternal. I've got Starfield, which I think they can show. I don't know if they're going to show gameplay. I hope they do.
I think. See, well, I've put gameplay on my list as well, but I think just a trailer is.
Here's the thing, right?
More likely.
They showed the teaser for Starfield, right?
Yeah.
And they showed the teaser for ES6.
Yeah.
Now, Starfield is much further along in development than ES6 is. So if they don't show gameplay, if they do show gameplay for Starfield, they're not going to show gameplay for ES6. And even if they don't show it for Starfield, they're not going to show anything for ES6 either.
So I don't even think ES6 will get a
presence.
mention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
ES6 will have no presence. The other 2 things I've got is maybe some Quake Champions news, or maybe a new Quake.
I don't know about a new Quake. That'd be a wild card. That one.
It could fit into the Doom Eternal stuff.
Could do. I mean, Bethesda's a very difficult one to predict at the minute because of the amount of hot water they've been in over the last 12 months. They had the whole Fallout 76 malarkey, and then they had Elder Scrolls.
That's my final. That's my final bullet point. Is a big apology.
Yeah, I mean they were quite. I don't want to say like self-referential, but they were very sort of aware of themselves last year at E3, and this year I don't know how they can do that without acknowledging shit.
Yeah, Todd's been very self-effacing in interviews that he's been doing. You saw it in that Internet Historian video where he was talking about how someone sent him a box of bobby pins with a post-it note attached to it that just said, "Weigh these." Because the bobby pins in Fallout 76 weighed like 0.5 each. Like, you know in Skyrim how they weigh nothing?
Yeah.
There was 0.5 weight each in Fallout 76. So you couldn't carry any. I just imagine getting that in the post. Weigh these, Todd.
Oh, that makes me laugh.
But he made a joke out of it, so,
Yeah. I mean, there was also, he had an interview with IGN last week where he said that we I think that the exact phrasing he said was something like, "We knew the Fallout 76 would have some bumps in the road before it was released," and everyone jumped on that because it was like, you have like ruined social media managers and customer service managers' jobs for like the last 6 months.
Todd,
Yeah,
I just want to go home. We need 4 times the detail.
I genuinely don't know how they cannot acknowledge Fallout 76. And also they had Elder Scrolls Blades hasn't done too well.
I keep getting notificated. I need to uninstall it.
Yeah, me too. I've heard it's absolute dog shit.
It's just
so
a
yeah.
full chest blockigami.
Yeah, I don't know how it's gonna go. To be honest, it's gonna be I'm
Exciting,
interested to see. It's exciting, but it's like Bethesda's very much the same. I genuinely don't know how they can approach it this year. It's weird.
Yes.
I've got one bullet point for PC Gaming Show, and it's who the fuck cares. So should we just move on?
Yeah, I have 5 for Ubisoft.
Yeah.
Watch Dogs Legion, we talked about.
Yep.
Beyond Good and Evil 2 gameplay, that's basically certain.
Well, we've had shitloads of that already, but
yeah. Ghost Recon Breakpoint gameplay.
Shit, yeah, forgot about that.
And then I have 2 question marks. New Assassin's Creed?
No.
Why not?
Because it's 2020.
Okay. And the one I'm excited for, new Rayman?
Ooh, yes. I'm glad you mentioned that because I have fuck all else. Yeah, very, very possibly.
I would fucking love a new Rayman. Because
I would
Rayman Legends is one of the best platformers ever made.
I would love it on Switch as well. Rayman Legends is on Switch. I need to get it on that.
It's fucking incredible, Josh. It's actually one of the... It is one of the best platformers ever.
Poggers, right? Yeah, new Rayman. I think I would very much like to see. The only things that I have on that list, on my list that aren't on there, I've just said I'm very, very excited for Watch Dogs Legion. Do not expect to see Assassin's Creed as it's a 2020 release. Pretty sure they've already said that. If Far Cry's there, I'll be livid because they've milked Far Cry far too much.
Just can that shit and
either
2022.
2022 and do a fucking like good rethink of that franchise because
delay
it has nowhere. It has nothing new to say, that franchise.
Make a completely new Far Cry that works like Far Cry 2 did and just call it Far Cry.
Yes, there we are.
That's what they need to do.
Exactly. I'm holding out in a Splinter Cell, but it's not going to happen. Eve Guillemot said that Splinter Cell...
I'd be super down for that, though.
I know. Well, the Computer Game Show, which is a podcast I listen to on the regular, last E3, they do like a thing where one of the team doesn't watch E3, and then it gets explained back to them by the other 3, and they throw wild cards in there by like inventing shit. And one of the concepts last year was it was Splinter Cell Battle Royale, where you played in a skyscraper. And each floor got you could like stealth through this like skyscraper.
I remember you talking about this, and it sounded like the coolest shit.
Yeah, and like the zone decreases by each floor getting like gassed, and you have to like you like get pushed together, and you can like hide in dark. You can like proper like hide in darkness and shit. And it was a super super cool concept, but it like obviously it was the one that they made up to like fuck with. I think was it James who. And I think it was Dave who did it last year. But yeah, I think Eve Guillemot said in like an interview with IGN a few weeks ago that they're doing something with the Splinter Cell like IP, but they're not ready to talk about it, and they won't be for a bit. So I don't think Splinter Cell is going to get a mention, unfortunately. And the other thing that I've got on here is that if I don't see a panda flossing on stage, I'm rioting. Because
it's a good thing. It's a good thing the Ubisoft conference is like
towards the end.
Towards the end, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like Ubisoft Ubisoft have a good slot there because everyone's so tired from the first 4 conferences that at that point it's just like it's like Ubisoft is full meme, but you don't care. It's like quite refreshing.
It's like okay, we've had Microsoft. Holy shit, so much. Bethesda. Oh, we've got to wait through the like ESO stuff. Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah, this was cool. That was an alright conference. PC Gaming Show, I'm about to drop off. Whoa, it's a panda! That's what it's like.
Exactly. That panda is like flossing to fucking Ed Sheeran, and I'm all for it because I haven't slept in 3 days.
That panda should be in the middle of the Ubisoft logo. That panda is Ubisoft, and the panda is us.
I mean, last year they opened the show with Just Dance, so Like they are fully aware that like their show is just full meme at this point, and I'm all for it. I need to see that panda.
Bring
If I don't see
back
that panda,
Aisha. Make
Yes.
Aisha the panda.
can you imagine? She
If she
takes
took off the
fucking,
head.
and it's
Oh.
fucking Aisha.
Thing is, you'd know it was her because the panda would be 8 foot tall.
Very, very true. Fuck. No, right. We need to stop hyping it up because we get too excited otherwise. All right. Can I want to talk about
Squeenix.
Square Enix because I was going to skip this one. It's usually the one I skip because it's always at 2:30 in the morning and it's always a half an hour just like video of Japanese shit that I don't care about. But
Or two Japanese men sat on stage going, "This is why we can't make this game that you're excited for." That's basically what it is.
exactly. It's just it's so depressing and boring. But they've announced that the Avengers game is going to get by Crystal Dynamics and not Massive, Eidos Montreal is getting revealed there, as is Dying Light 2. So I have to stay up for that one now.
Well, that says a lot. That says a lot about Square Enix that they are. If they're going to reveal that shit and it makes you watch it, then here we are.
Yeah, exactly. So whatever. I mean, I'm very, very intrigued by the Avengers game because I read the description on their website and they've sort of touted it as like kind of like an MMO, like an ongoing thing, which makes me wonder if they're going for a very like they've got the cinematic universe, whether they're going for a gaming like a gaming universe. I mean, Spider-Man PS4 revealed last year. Marvel Ultimate Alliance is coming out on Switch. I don't see how that could tie into it because those are completely
Ultimate Alliance
different
are
games.
completely separate. Ultimate Alliance
Yeah.
takes place in its own universe anyway.
But I could quite clearly, I could very much see a Marvel universe going like sprouting off from Spider-Man PS4, or even just this brand new one with the Avengers. And that excites me a great deal. I wonder if it could tie in. No, it couldn't tie in with the movies, but it now seems like a very good time to release it with Endgame, with that sort of putting not necessarily a full stop, but definitely a semicolon on
and
the.
people not really knowing where to go next and wanting some more Avengers.
This definitely. The teaser trailer from 2017 shows Thor's hammer, Mjolnir, Cap Shield, Iron Man's gauntlet, and I think some other shit as well. But like, it's the classic Avengers. So if you're like me, wanting your fill on the classic Avengers after Endgame,
What if it's literally just like an event? If it was literally just an Avengers based story game, which worked like Left 4 Dead, and you could pick whatever hero, and then you just went through the levels. Awesome.
I'd be well up for that. Yeah, well, it is multiplayer. They've said it's co-op multiplayer. You can customize your shit, like customize your superhero, and I think that's as far as I know. But yeah, they said it was going to be like an evolving world that you could like play in for years, and I think that's as much as we know so far. But yeah, that's honestly, I think the Avengers game is what I'm most looking forward to this E3, and the fact that it's at Square Enix really surprises me. Dying Light 2 is there as well. I'm just interested in that because I love Dying Light 1, and they seem to be doing some cool like immersive sim, like reactive world shit with Dying Light 2 that I'm interested in, but not enough to say it's like my main like.
That's the main thing they advertised at the Microsoft conference last year. It was like full-on world-changing decisions, not just character-based decisions, but world decisions.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, release date possibly the end of this year, if not start of next. I think we'll get that announced.
I mean, let's be honest. It's either November or February.
Yeah, that's pretty much it, isn't it? So, I haven't got anything else on Square Enix.
Neither have I.
Okay. Nintendo, I want to start on this because you mentioned earlier that they've done 2 dedicated like Nintendo Directs before E3 dedicated to Mario and Pokemon. I think that is a tactic because last year what they did was they had like a 45-minute Direct and half an hour of that was Smash, and everyone got really fucking annoyed because half of it was all Smash, and then they just crammed the rest of it into the second half. So what I think they've done is they've gotten Mario and all the big Mario and Pokemon news out of the way so they can focus on like something else so that they don't have it too crammed. I think it's going to be Animal Crossing. It has to be, right?
I mean, if it is, I have no investment in this franchise. I've never played an Animal Crossing game. If they reveal Animal Crossing, I'm going to be so hyped just for other people.
Exactly.
Jenny will explode.
I know all of Twitter will explode. Twitter explodes at even like the mere possibility of an Animal Crossing announcement. Every time that there's like a new Nintendo Direct announcement, I see about 40 million gifs of that fucking raccoon behind his computer.
Fucking
So
Tom Nook.
that's the one. So I mean, the ultimate Nintendo mic drop would be, and it's available now.
They, God, can you fucking imagine? Right,
The servers would fucking melt. Is what they would.
They need a mic drop, and there's no Zelda coming. Well, there is. There's Link's Awakening,
yeah.
But they've shown that. There's not a new Mario game coming out. We know that.
Yeah. Zelda's pretty much done.
Do you know what
their
mic drop could be? Two things. Actually, no, it can't be. I was going to say Metroid Prime 4, but aren't they just starting again?
No, they've started from scratch, and I think that news came sort of late last year, so I wouldn't expect anything from Metroid
Prime 4. But I think the only there's two...
Majora's Mask 2.
There's two options there's two things they could do: Animal Crossing or Mother 4. Mother, yeah.
What's Mother?
Now, have you heard of Earthbound?
Heard of it? Okay, yes. Earthbound is
Mother 2.
Okay, Earthbound to me is like this weird franchise that I had never heard of until the other day, and it's somehow not the other day when I started playing Smash, and I was like, who the fuck's this Ness character? And it was like, oh, it's from Earthbound. I'm like, what the fuck's Earthbound? I've never heard of it before. It was somehow I've managed to, in 20 years of being on this planet, I've never heard of Earthbound until last October.
Well, that's the interesting thing, is because Mother was a RPG franchise that was successful in Japan, and they wanted to bring it to the West, and they're going to call it Mother 2. But they thought, but Mother, as a name in like Japanese, translated to English, kids aren't going to buy that.
Yeah.
So instead they called it Earthbound. But it was Earthbound, Mother 2, like in small things at the bottom. And then Mother 3 was only released in Japan.
Okay.
It was only released in Japan, and it never had an English translation. So I actually misspoke. I don't mean Mother 4. I mean Mother 3 being brought to the West.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I can't think of anything else that they'd have up their sleeve. To be honest, they've got what's their big shit? I mean, they're not going to do another Splatoon, are they?
No.
Not yet. It's a bit too early for that.
Not right now. I think it's either going to be Mother 3 localized or Animal Crossing.
Okay.
And potentially they have teased. Well, I think they could show their new Smash character.
Oh yeah, like new Smash news. I don't know if we'll get like DLC for anything else.
They might do a World of Light DLC.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. I mean, I've sort of stopped playing. I bought Smash as a party game for something that I want to play, like when other people are around. So, yeah. Okay. Well, I don't have anything. This E3 is weird because some shit we know is coming, but I feel like that's a very minute.
There's nothing else they could do. It's almost like they either have to do that, and if it's not there, what else are they going to show? It's just going to feel like the worst fart. Like,
what about new IP? Has Nintendo's not had a new IP since Splatoon, have they?
Since Splatoon, yeah.
And that was 13, 14?
So
14.
if they go new IP, that would be really cool as well. But I don't think they can. They can't do new IP in place of people wanting Mother 3 or Animal Crossing.
It's gonna be right. I'm pumped now because, as I say, like, and not even just for Nintendo, for a lot of these conferences, I genuinely don't know what the fuck they're gonna do because I know some things, like we can predict like a couple bits, but it feels like a small fraction of what's actually.
But you know what I love about that? I love it because I feel like in previous E3s, we've heard like a rumbling that's going to get announced, and then you're kind of just distracted because you just want that thing to be announced.
Yeah. And
you're waiting for it. But this time I don't feel like I'm waiting for anything. And that makes me more excited. Because anything could just pop up.
I'm so pumped. It's like... Anyway, right.
It's Christmas.
It's genuinely Christmas for gamers. I say it every year. This is like my 6th E3 in a row, and I think I'm most excited for this year. I genuinely have, like... I don't know what I'm excited for, but something is coming, okay? And it's going to be good. Right. That's enough from us. This is like a 3.5 hour podcast now. Thank you very much for listening if you got this far through. Shameless plugs. I've been writing shit for the National Student. I've done a piece on Automachef. I've also written about the Sonic movie delay, so I'll leave a link to some of my articles if you would be ever so kind to go and give them a read or a share or whatever. Would much appreciate it. I'm also working on a couple of video projects, but given how late this podcast is now being recorded, one of them might not make it through, so just keep an eye on my YouTube channel if you want to see any of that. I'm also attempting to report on E3. I am actually reporting on E3 for the National Students, for EA and Microsoft. But I also intend on doing some conference summaries and also some other like spin-off videos on any sort of games that really, really pique my interest. So keep an eye on my YouTube channel and my Twitch channel. My YouTube is like youtube.com/Josh Boyles. And there should be hashtag content on there sooner rather than later.
More content for you to just gobble. Yeah,
gobble up the content. And if there isn't, well, you'll keep an eye, because I intend to like feature in like the video of these. Obviously, like I'm using a camera and a green screen. Watch the bags under my eyes like get bigger as each video goes on, because I'm not going to sleep for the next 3 days.
Should you do an E3 progress pick album?
Oh, I genuinely might. I genuinely might. It's going to be fucking mental.
You're going to end up looking like Jafar.
What, in the new one or the?
Well, the old one.
The old one.
In the new one, he's just a bloke.
It's a bloke from Croydon. What? I don't know what the fuck that accent was. Right, I'm tired. I need to go to bed.
Bring me the lamp. That's it.
Have you got anything you want to plug?
Not really. Other than that, I've finished my entry course to university, and I am now officially an animation student for 3 years. And hopefully, when I come out, I'll do something with it.
Fair enough. That's fair enough. Right. Thank you very much for watching again, and catch you next week on a Sunday when this next podcast gets released. See you later.
See you later.